Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
The 1-2. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. And that's the ball game. And the Mets take game 3, 7-2 the final. And the Mets lead the Phillies 2-1 in this best-of-5 division series.
How's the mentality shift when you know tomorrow is a win or go home?
Just got to win. I think we've done that all year. So just got to go out there, get Quintana, and yeah.
A Wednesday edition of the Sports Bash starts now. 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, streaming live video on the X platform at Mike Gill Show. Use the hashtag SB Live as heard on 97.3 ESPN. The Phillies fall in just a completely disappointing fashion, but it's one that we should not be all that surprised about. The way they lost that game should not surprise us. We've talked about it so much on this show about the inability to hit at this time of the year. And it has come and reared its ugly head yet again. We will get into it all. The Phillies lineup is out. If you're watching the live video, you see it scrolling on the bottom of the screen. They have made a couple changes to the lineup. And they're essentially saying analytics are out the window today. Left-handed pitcher Quintana on the mound. Stott is in the lineup. Marsh is in the lineup. Weston Wilson is in the lineup. Bohm is in the lineup. He is hitting fifth. The Phillies are tweaking and saying, listen, Stott and Marsh, yes, you have failed against lefties for most of the season, but we need offense right now. We are turning to those guys. Rojas, who, by the way, is 5 for 9 lifetime against Quintana, is out of the lineup today. As I said, the Phillies took the analytics and threw him out the window. Weston Wilson, who is 0 for 6 lifetime against Quintana with 2 strikeouts, he is in the lineup today. Marsh and Stott are combined 0 for 5 against Quintana. They are both in the lineup today. We'll get into all that in just a little bit. But first, I want to go back to last night. And there's so many moments in the game. I got my note sheet here. Let's bring them over and kind of collect my thoughts as much as I can because they're going to be all over the place today. Nola pitched an okay game. He wasn't awful. He wasn't great. He was good. Nola left the game last night. The Phillies offense had given him a grand total of 2 hits in the game. So if you want to say Nola wasn't good enough, okay, fine. 5 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 8 strikeouts, pair of home runs. Okay, I have no problem saying, yeah, it's not great, Nola. Not great, Nola, but just okay, Nola. They had 2 hits for the pitcher when they lifted him from the game. There's so many things we could get on, but that's number one because I heard a lot of people saying Nola wasn't good enough. Yeah, I don't think he was good enough, but hey, listen, you got to score some runs. At some point, you have to score some runs. But the Nola, he was just good, average, I would say. Not great, not good, not great. I mean, just an average guy last night. Kirkin came in, got the job done. Actually, didn't get the job done. He gave up a hit. He came in with runners on base, gave up a hit with 2 outs. He had bases loaded, nobody out. It was a big moment in the game. If they find a way to get out of that, who knows what we're talking about. And I got to say, it's bases loaded, no out. They get a ground ball to Sosa, and he bobbles it. I think that's a double play, and you probably end up giving up nothing in that situation. But here's a spot where if Stott's playing second base instead of Sosa, do they make that play? Do they get a double play? I don't know. I think they do. But then Kirkering ends up giving up a hit. 6 2-out RBI for the Mets. 6 2-out RBI for the Mets in the series. Alvarado. I mean, listen, I think they left him out there too long. I don't know what Thompson was thinking at that spot. Alvarado obviously showed he didn't have command. He threw 22 pitches. He threw 8 strikes. At that point, you got to get him out of the game. You load up the bases, and then you bring Ruiz in, and he gives up a hit. I mean, at that point, is Ruiz your best option? I don't know what everybody's availability is. I don't know what Hoffman. To me, that's telling me that they have no confidence in Hoffman, or Hoffman was not available. I don't know. But Alvarado doesn't have it last night, and they bring Ruiz in. He gives up a hit. And listen, you might say, oh, well, they lost 7-2. But if you're keeping the game close, the Phillies got some runners on. It's a different game if that game's 4-2. And instead, they busted open, and now it's 6-2. Then they get another run, 7-2. All right. So I thought the spot in the game is in the 6th, and I think a lot of people would go to that inning, but I would agree with you. I think the spot in that game is the 6th. And in that 6th inning, Manaea, who's cruising along, he walks Schwarber. And he walks Schwarber on 4 straight pitches. It's 0-2, and then he walks Schwarber on 4 straight. Then Turner comes up, and he walks. So he throws 8 out of 9 pitches out of the strike zone. Now you have first and second with nobody out, and here comes Harper. It's 2-0 at the time. And Harper has one of the worst at-bats you could ever imagine. He swings at 3 pitches, one of which is not even close. After you just watch the pitcher put 2 guys on base. So Harper's at-bat is a microcosm of the ineptitude of this offense in this series. More on that. But Harper strikes out swinging. He is your 300+ million guy. And listen, Harper's been tremendous at times. But that at-bat last night, you have first and second with nobody out. And he strikes out on 3 pitches and doesn't even look competitive. After a walk where the pitcher throws 8 pitches out of the strike zone out of 9, Castellanos, now he lines it shot and lines right into a double play. Inning over. And at that point, it's 2-0. And then the Mets come in and they load the bases with nobody out. And this is when Kirk Green comes in and they get 2 more. I think the 2 extra runs keep Manaea in the game. Because at that point, I think they probably would have taken Manaea out of the game with a 2-0 lead. But instead, you load the bases. You can talk about the Alonso at bat. Should they have stuck with Nola for Alonso? He ends up walking Alonso. The bases are now loaded, and now they have to go to Kirk Green, who, give him credit, I mean, he almost got out of the inning. He gets the ground ball to Sosa. Sosa bobbles it. It's probably a double play, and then Winker flies out to left. You possibly get inning over, and then the Phillies come up in the 7th, and you're into the Met bullpen. Instead, gives up a base hit to Marte, 4-0 Mets. Manaea stays in the game, and then he comes in, 1 pitch to Bohm, 2 pitches to Real Muto, and then he strikes out Austin Hayes. The 6th inning changes the game, and here we are, 2-1, Mets with a chance to close it out. Phillies on the brink of elimination. 609-403-0973 on the text board. 609-403-0973. A lot of texts coming in. Here's some numbers that I think are pretty interesting. Regular season, Phillies versus fastballs. Hard stuff. 29% chase. In the postseason, 44% chase. They are pressing so much in these playoffs. They are chasing and pressing so much in these playoffs. And, you know, it's at the point where after 3 seasons, this isn't a surprise. You look at this lineup, and it's a lot of the same problems. It's the key guys don't come up big. They struggle, and when they get cold, they get really cold. Here's some thoughts through 3 games from me on this whole situation. The key guys on offense have again let this team down. All right? The bullpen has been brutal. Brutal. I mean, you watched the Padres last night. I mean, you look at the Phillies, you're like, oh, man, they got a pretty good bullpen. Hoffman and Strahm and Go watch the Padres and look at that bullpen. And then you're looking at electric guys coming in, just firing 101. It's a different level of what your bullpen is. Marsh and Stott's inability to hit left-handed pitching all season long has sunk this team. And then coupled with Dave Dombrowski's inability to find a right-handed option to pair with Marsh has really hurt this team. Because you've admitted that you don't think Marsh can hit lefties. So you're platooning them with Manny Moe and Jack every night. You got Austin Hayes and Weston Wilson and Cody Clements. I mean, yeah, those guys, they have a nice role on this team. But you've had Marsh not able to hit lefties for 3 years now. And you've never said, you know what, we've got to find a better option for him. We got to pair up somebody to play with Marsh. If we like Marsh as much as we think we do, and he's going to play against righties, how could you not go out and find a bat to pair with him? Now, I guess they think Austin Hayes was that bat. Shame on them. Trey Turner is a good, not great player for $300 million. I'm not blasting Turner. I don't think he sucks. He's a good player. But for $300 million, when he steps to the plate, do you get all the feels? Like when Tatis steps up for San Diego last night and rips a bomb in a key spot? Do you feel like that when Trey Turner, making $300 million, steps to the plate like something great is going to happen? Yeah, he might slap a single through the left side. But he's not a 30, 35 homer guy. He's not a guy who's an impactful, carry the team kind of guy. He's solid. He's steady. But for $300 million, good, not great. Alec Boehm, I mean, he has been a complete disappointment. September, I don't know what happened with that hand, but his body language is awful. We talked about this on Monday. Boehm is better suited to hit number 6 or number 7 in a lineup, not number 4 or number 5. And this is the problem with this roster and this lineup. Every guy you could say, well, he shouldn't hit number 5. Somebody has to hit there. Boehm, Schwarber, Real Muto, Stott, Marsh. None of those guys are capable to hit in the 5 spot. They do not have enough depth to this lineup. And then finally, Castellanos and Schwarber both can carry you at times, but the inconsistency of those two guys just crush you, man. They come up in so many big spots, and I get it. Castellanos had the big hit, and he's not going to get a hit every single night. But when the other guys aren't hitting and you need to rely on somebody, you got so many guys at the top of that lineup. $900 million worth of guys that just don't get it done. This isn't one of these things that should be a surprise. We talked about it on Nuggets every day for like 2 weeks. This lineup is not good enough. Today, and I'll get you the lineup here in a second, they got a little bit of a change to the lineup. The 6, 7, 8 guys are different. It's, let me see if I can remember. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Boehm is 5. Real Muto is 6. Weston Wilson is hitting 7th. Who am I forgetting, Josh? Who's hitting in the 8 hole tonight? Because Marsh is hitting 9th.
I thought it was what's his face.
Good job. Appreciate that. All right. Let's go to Wilson's hitting 7. Stott is hitting 7. Wilson's hitting 8, and Marsh is hitting 9th.
Right. Whereas in the past, Stott and Marsh were swapped.
Well, Stott hit 5th the other day. He's not hitting 5th today because they're pitching a left-handed guy. Now, people ask all the time, why do they sit Stott? Why do they sit Marsh? The answer is 228. Stott against lefties. Marsh is 192. That's why they don't play against left-handed pitching. It's not rocket science, not like hard to figure out. Those guys do not hit lefties. But the Phillies today said, damn it. Damn analytics, they're out the window today. Rob Thompson was asked last night about Austin Hayes. The Austin Hayes thing has been terrible. Somebody tweeted this out earlier. David Dahl has more RBI for the Phillies than Austin Hayes has since he came to the Phillies. Now, I get it. Hayes was hurt, missed some time. I didn't like the trade the day they made it for Hayes. I get it. Like, they needed a right-handed bat. Fine, he's going to go play left field half the time. It's been a disaster. They still have not found a right-handed bat that can hit in the middle of that lineup. So last night, Topper is asked if Hayes was going to play or would they think about Wilson. And here's what Topper said.
Bats tonight, and is there any chance Wilson's in there tomorrow?
Yeah, we got to talk about it tonight, but yeah, he looked a little rusty and a little off balance. Timing was off a little bit, but we'll talk about one later.
Okay, so the point there is he said, we got to talk about it. When he says we have to talk about it, there's your clue there. I have to talk to Dave and Sam, and I need to get and let them know we have to make some changes to this lineup. We need to talk about this lineup, guys, because I keep playing these guys based on the splits. This is what you want me to do, and today I need to throw those splits out the window. We have got to get the guys in the lineup that make the most sense, regardless of what they're doing against lefties, righties, this guy, that guy. Because Weston Wilson's in the lineup today, and he doesn't have a hit against Jose Quintana in his life. He's 0 for 6. Rojas is 5 for 9. But guess what? Hear them saying, I don't care that Rojas is 5 for 9. I got to get more offensive pop, and I'm going to go with Marsh. Now, Marsh hasn't had a hit against lefties since Moses wore short pants. All right? But they're saying he gives us at least the better threat against the pitcher than Rojas does. Now, you guys know I like Rojas. I have no problem with Rojas in terms of I would have played Rojas over Hayes, but they're going with Wilson today. Do I think that Wilson is the savior? No, you guys know how I feel about these bit players. They're bit players for a reason. But can Wilson come in and give you a spark? Look, they're throwing the kitchen sink at them today because they got no other options. We follow the analytics. We've done everything we can. And now we're just playing the guys who we think are the best. 609-403-0973. Shaner and EHC. Mike, I'm sad. I'm mad. I have a smidge of hope left. This team is aging, and we're watching the window close with a decade-long contract. I hope I'm wrong, and my little bit of hope rides out. Let's go, Phils. Bring it back to the bank. Shaner, I talked about this today. It feels a lot like the Phillies 08 team. They won the World Series. This team has never won the World Series. But they won the World Series. Then they got to the World Series and lost. Then they went to the NLCS and lost. Then they lost in the divisions. They progressively just kept losing around before, earlier, and earlier. This team went to a World Series, lost. They lost in the NLCS. And if they lose in the NLDS, and that team back then in 2012, after they lost in 11, looked up and said, well, Howard's hurt, Utley's hurt, we're in some trouble. And we got all these contracts, and these guys are getting older. Well, this team is lost in the World Series, lost in the Championship Series, and now they're down 2-1 in the Division Series. And if they lose this series, you're going to look up and say, oh, my God, I got Trey Turner for 10 more years. I got Casty for 2 more years. I got Schwarber for another year. I got Realmuto for another year. I got Harper for 8 more years, whatever it is. Last night, I'm listening to the game on the radio, and during the broadcast, they said Nola signed for 7 more years. Yeah, it's a pretty important game today when you look at the big picture like this. Terry and Galloway, Phillies need Ranger to throw a complete game no-hitter. It's the only shot they have. That's a little bit hyperbole, but I see what you mean. Yes, it's a big spot for Ranger Suarez today. And listen, if this was 2022 or 2023, you'd say, man, I feel great with Ranger pitching. But it's 2024, and Ranger hasn't been the same since Moses wears short pants.
Is that your go-to phrase today?
Yeah, I watched a little Sopranos the other day.
Gotcha.
Mike, do you think if they're pressing, would you do more hit and run if you had a guy on first base? Last night's an interesting question. I don't know about the hit and run situation, but there was an interesting spot in the game. I got to remember what inning this was. It was who hit in front of Rojas last night?
Hayes.
Hayes hit in front of Rojas last night. And he's on first base. I want to say Rojas. No, Sosa. Sosa, it's in the third. It's 1-0 Mets. Okay, here's what happened. Sosa got hit by the pitch. Rojas is up in the third. It's 1-0 Mets. Rojas squares to bunt, and the pitch is out of the strike zone, and he pulls back. And then after that, he doesn't bunt. Like, there's the opportunity. The leadoff man gets on. You have Rojas hitting behind him. You have one job in that spot, Rojas. Bunt. Now you move him over, and you got a runner on second with the top of the order up. Now, Schwarber ends up striking out, but Turner singled. So if Sosa's on base and there's 2 outs and Turner singles, you score a run. But Rojas, for whatever reason, attempted to bunt. He pulled it back, and then he didn't bunt. So, listen, for me, if Rojas is in the lineup, I don't have him there to hit. I have him in there to do those things. I have him to play defense, try to get on base with your speed. But if you're not going to do that, put a bunt down and get the other guy over. Get a productive out, for God's sakes. So, I got to question that call there. Or did Rojas... He obviously tried to bunt the first pitch. He went after, he pulled it back. It was ball 1. Then he took 2 strikes looking. Actually, one was a look. The other one was a swing at a pitch way out of the strike zone. So that third inning there is a spot where they could have manufactured a run.
So is that just another example of just the whole team overthinking then? Like, are
I
we
think they're just pressing. I think it's a team pressing. I think it's a team that realizes the pressure and they're pressing, and it's the same group of guys. And look, Minaya was tough last night. He's a left-handed guy who's throwing from weird angles. You know, I'm trying to explain to a buddy of mine last night because he's just not getting it. I said, listen, you know, he's like, oh, they don't practice enough against lefties. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? They don't practice enough against lefty. You know, during the course of a year, you don't see left-handers all that much. All right. So when you see a guy like Minaya last night, you see even guys that throw like him even less. So Harper, for instance, had 400 plus at bats against right-handed pitching. He only had like 220 at bats against left-handed pitching. You just think about it. Forget Harper and Schwarber. Last night in a big spot in the Dodger game. Okay. I don't know if you guys were watching this game. It's a big spot in the Dodger game last night. Ohtani's at the plate. Now, Ohtani's pretty good. Is he not?
very good?
Okay. Ohtani's at the plate, and the Padres have a guy that they traded for at the deadline comes into the game. Scott. It's 6-5. Ohtani leads off. Well, guess what Ohtani did? He struck out. Ohtani makes $700 million, and he struck out. Scott is a tough lefty. You know, Ohtani's batting average against lefties is 30 points less than it is against righties.
Not surprising.
He struggles against left-handed pitching. Now, he's not hitting 192 like Marsh is. He's competitive. I think he hits 260 against right-handed pitching. But the point is, you know, you face these tough lefties, and it's a different at-bat for these guys. Ohtani's a left-handed hitter. When you put Scott in the game, they made a trade. The Padres did. To say, if we play the Phillies, I got this guy, Scott. And if we play the Dodgers, their best hitter's left-handed, I got this guy, Stott. Their roster configuration at the deadline, they thought about things like that, and Dave Dombrowski did not.
So then if the guys are pressing and the whole team is trying to do too much, how do you rectify that?
It's a good question. I mean, how do you rectify it? Sometimes, you know, as I said, we always want to blame the manager. I said fans want to fire the manager so they complain about the next manager, right? Fire this guy because I want to complain about the next manager. Sometimes the realization is, as much as you're excited and as much as it's fun and as much as you love the team and the regular season and the ride and all, sometimes the realization is you're just not good enough. The roster is just not good enough.
That's hard to explain to fans. You say, look, all the money you spent on these guys.
It is. It's very hard. You go to spring training, you buy jerseys, you buy T-shirts, you buy this, you buy tickets. You spend so much money on this team. You change dinner reservations, you change lifestyle, you watch games, you do everything. And in the end, you're saying, what am I getting out of this? They're letting me down again. And in the end, it's hard. And that's why we always want to fire the manager. We want to fire the coach. They're not ready to play. That's your fault. They're not ready to play. Go back to when you played or when you coached and how many times you would tell somebody, do it this, do this, do this. And then they don't. And you're thinking to yourself, what the hell, dude? I just got done telling you 10 times to do it this way. And then you didn't do it this way. This team is filled with guys who have been swinging at bad pitches, chasing out of the zone for their whole career. This is who they are. You don't just change that. Mike, the Phillies have beaten the Phillies' best two pitchers, and then the darn strikeouts when they do get a base runner, Clarence from Delaware. Yeah, you lose with Wheeler, you lose with Nola. Big Al and Violent. Mike, it feels like the 2008 Phillies again. Hope Ranger and the hitters get to step up. Yeah, we'll see who steps up today. 609-403-0973. By the way, Christopher Sanchez is available in the game today, according to Rob Thompson. Available, he said, if everybody else has been used, basically an emergency situation. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Mike, you want to blame the manager if the offense puts up 2 runs? That's not on the manager. Same with the bullpen. If they don't show up, you can't. If they don't show up, you can't blame the manager. I mean, listen, the one move last night that I would say I thought Thompson left Alvarado out there too long. I think they stuck with him too long. But in the end, that didn't decide the game. At that moment, yeah, they gave up another run. They ended up giving up, 4 or 5 runs there? That decision didn't cost them the game. But that's one that I think was peculiar, no question. The team's just not good enough. You're not winning a World Series with Bryson Stott hitting the 5-hole. You're not winning a World Series with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on this team. More Sports Bash coming up. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, PressofAC.com, here on 97.3 ESPN.
When you need the best Phillies coverage, there's only one place to get it.
3-1. This one hammered. Left field and deep. Watching it go is Kelly home run. JT Realmuto.
Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Left in the dark. Calvi Electric, a certified Generac dealer, has you covered. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Calvi Electric, the premier electrical contractor serving South Jersey for over 115 years. Visit calvielectric.com today or call 609-345-0151.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED in my 12 years of practice. But now you can get world-class care for ED 100% online by going to hims.com. So what are you waiting for?
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Wrap up your workday with the all-new Chickies and Pete's Happy Hour with unbeatable specials weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy half-price orders of Chickies medium tender wings, one of our tasty and delicious pizzas, or an order of mouth-watering hot, cold, or fried shrimp. Plus $3 domestic bottled beers, $5 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. It's the all-new Happy Hour, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., only at Chickies and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Now, for a limited time, it's buy one, get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. Buy one, get one free, and enjoy the sweet, delicate flavor of snowy white crab meat. Pair it with one of our handcrafted cocktails like the Stoli Vanilla Creamsicle or the Bourbon Peach Sweet Tea. Top it off with Chickie and Pete's world famous crab fries. Buy one, get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday for a limited time. Restrictions apply only at Chickies and Pete's.
O'Reilly.
Need
a little help? O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. Need advice? We've got advice. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Exceptional customer service. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
If you no longer qualify for New Jersey Family Care, you may be eligible for low or no-cost health insurance through Get Covered New Jersey for yourself and your family. These quality, affordable health plans cover doctor visits, prescriptions, emergency services, and more. 9 out of 10 enrolling qualify for financial help, and many pay $10 a month or less. Learn more and find out if you're eligible today at getcovered.nj.gov.
Break in falling prices at Parkview RV's Fall Open House this Saturday, October 12th from 9 to 4 at Parkview RV in Smyrna. Huge discounts on a huge inventory of new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, and truck campers. It's a Parkview party with low financing, refreshments, and door prizes. Check out must-attend seminars on batteries and winterization. Attendees qualify for service department coupons. Don't miss the Fall Open House this Saturday from 9 to 4 at Parkview RV with part specials up to 20% off select items and 10% off labor service specials. Don't miss the Parkview RV Fall Open House this Saturday from 9 to 4 with the lowest prices of the season. It's all happening at Parkview RV, Route 13 in Smyrna, across from Delaware's only rest area. Parkview RV, home of the great deal.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the Gallery. Go to the Fanatic Sportsbook. Go for the win at Ocean Casino Resort. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
The 0-2. Swing and a line drive. Caught. Flip to second. Double play. Castellanos lines to Iglesias. He tosses to Lindor. Schwarber got the bad read, and that ends the inning.
I thought our bats early in the game were okay. We hit 3 balls right on the nose in the first inning, just that didn't have anything to show for it. And then as the game rolls along, I think at some point guys try to do a little bit too much, and we just need to stay with our approach and pass the baton. That's what we always talk about. That's what about.
234 Sports Bash. Who can save me today? Is it Ranger Suarez? Is it the offense? The lineup is out. Mike Gill from the Press of Atlantic City is here. And we've got you on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. First pitch at 5 o'clock. You can listen to all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike Gill, can somebody save the Phillies today? Or are you looking at a team that is out of talent and out of answers?
Well, I don't think they're out of answers. They can change the narrative or begin to change the narrative with a win today. You said to me, who is going to save the Phillies today? I don't have a lot of faith in Ranger Suarez, no matter how good those innings he threw in the inner squad game were that nobody saw. But the Phillies threat of us is tremendous in those games. I just don't like what I've seen from the past 6 or 7 weeks. I think if the Phillies are going to win this game and extend the series, it's going to come down to them out-slugging the Mets today and getting a couple of key outs out of their bullpen, neither of which they've done in the first 3 games, really.
Like, last night's game game I want to get into the first today. The lineup is out, and it's a couple changes. It seems that the Phillies, Rob Thompson said it last night, yeah, we need to talk about this. And they decided that analytics are out the window today. You've got the two lefties, Stott and Marsh, in the lineup. You've got Weston Wilson, 0 for 6, 2 strikeouts against Quintana in the lineup today. What do you make of Wilson, Stott, Marsh, Joe? The 6, 7, 8 spots have been a disaster. They're the guys they're turning to.
Yeah, I think, and I'm about to post a column on PressAC.com about Mark Scott and Alec Boehm. I just think it's put up or shut up time for those three guys. Are they going to be everyday players or are they not going to be everyday players? And here's an opportunity, today and is going to be Exhibit A, I think, to sort of discuss, what their futures of the ball club will be after the season is over. Particularly Marsh and Stott and Boehm. These are guys that were projected to be part of the Phillies' young core. The plan for this team is always to supplement the high-priced free agents with homegrown local talent. Last year at this time, Boehm, Marsh, and Stott appeared to be mainstays of the lineup, guys who would play for the Phillies for 5 to 10 years. Today, not so sure. So they're getting an opportunity here to hit against the lefty, to show that they can be everyday players. And I just think it's put up or shut up time for those three guys.
Mike, last night's game, I think a lot of people have their thoughts or their moment. I thought it was that 6th inning. Obviously, Harper's at bat, awful. Then you hit into a double play. Is there another time or moment in that game, or is that where this game kind of was nail in the coffin?
Yeah, I think that was the sort of nail in the coffin offensively. Obviously Manaea starts that inning. Show Manaea, the Mets starter, by walking 2 guys, and 8 of the 10 pitches he throws are balls, and then the Phillies swung at the next 6 pitches. Now that's little league stuff. That's the team you coach in Babe Ruth. The guys are a little wild. How about we take a strike? The Phillies will tell you, well, they were good pitches to hit and everything else, but sometimes, discretion is a better part of valor. You can't, if a guy is shown a tendency to be wild, walked 2 guys and thrown 8 balls in 10 pitches, you can't come up and swing at the next 6 pitches. I don't care if Castellanos hit the ball on the nose right at the second baseman. The Phillies did this a lot yesterday. They said, well, we hit the ball hard in the first inning right at people. Castellanos hit the ball hard right at the second baseman, Iglesias, in the 6th inning. That's what people who lose baseball games say. They say, we hit the ball hard, but we hit it right at people. So those were poor at bats. I thought the other key part of the game, and this didn't get a lot of attention, is that 4-0, Rob Thompson goes to Alvarado and Jose Ruiz, and they give up 2 runs to make it 6-0. I think at 4-0, you've still got to play that game out. You've got to make sure that game's close, especially since he went to Carlos Estevez in the next inning. Why not go to Estevez, I think it was, in the 7th, and then if he gets hit hard, then you can go to Alvarado and Ruiz in the 8th. But I thought the use of Thompson's use of the bullpen yesterday was not good. So those are the 2 things that I would point to right there.
Yeah, and I don't know, you were there last night. The play that I thought was another big moment in the game, there's a couple other spots, but it's the Kirkering is in. They hit a ground ball, bases loaded, nobody out, to Sosa, and he bobbles it. Is that a double play? And then the next guy, Winker, pops out to left. You get out of that inning potentially, but is that a double play? Infield in, ball to Sosa.
Yeah, possibly. In looking at it, it would have been a bang-bang play at first base if he had fielded it cleanly. So, but again, that's what, teams that lose baseball games say. They say, oh, we hit the ball hard. We hit it right at people. Oh, if we only hadn't bobbled that ball, we could have made the double play and get out of the inning. That's kind of loser's lament, and that's the sort of direction the Phillies are headed in right now.
Yeah, listen, no doubt about it. They didn't make plays, and that's one of them. There's another moment. It's early in the game, but I want to get your thoughts. 3rd inning, Sosa gets hit. Man on first, nobody out. Rojas offers to bunt, then he pulls back, and then he ends up swinging away, and he ends up getting out. But at that moment, you bunt Sosa for the top of the order. I thought that was 1-0 in the game. I thought that was a curious moment because Turner did end up hitting a single. You would have had a runner on second and potentially able to tie that game up. But why no bunt from Rojas there? That's another question.
Yeah, it's the little things, right? It's the little things that make it difference this time of year. It was peculiar, especially since they had made such a point of saying, well, we're going to start Rojas, and he bunted more in September, and he was able to get down sacrifice bunts and use his speed and hit and run a little bit with him. peculiar instance there that he didn't continue to try to bunt and get the guy over.
Yeah, that was an interesting moment there too. And then obviously, they come back and get a couple of runs. But as you said, that the Mets attacked on a couple more to make it 6-0, and then the Phillies get 2, and here we are. Ranger Suarez. Many people asking for Wheeler. It doesn't really even sound as if Wheeler is an option unless the game's in major extra innings and they have to go to him. But would you ask Wheeler and see if he's willing, or is Ranger the guy for you today, Mike McGarry?
Well, two things. We just spoke with Rob Thompson, and we asked him if Wheeler would pitch today, and he said in an emergency. And then we asked him to define emergency, and he said we have no more pitching left. So that doesn't sound like you're going to see Zach Wheeler today. I think what they're going to ask of Ranger Suarez is to get through the lineup one time. And then I think the guy you could very well see after Ranger Suarez is Christopher Sanchez. Today is his kind of throw day. He will not throw today. He will sit in the bullpen. So I think they're going to ask Ranger. And I don't think, unless Ranger comes out there and really pulls one out of where, I think the expectation for him is to get through the lineup once and then try to piece it together from there. That's why I think it's big for them to try to, hit Quintana a little bit. And Quintana's a guy who has given them trouble in the past.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com is the Phillies and the Mets game number 4 today. It's an elimination game for the Phillies. Quintana, by the way, the one guy who's hit Quintana, Mike, Rojas. He's 5 for 9. He's not in the lineup. He's not in the lineup today. Yeah, you got Wilson 0 for 6 with 2 strikeouts. Stott and Marsh have never gotten a hit against Quintana. Rojas is 5 for 9. Although, look, I like Rojas as much as, not many other people, but I don't have any problem trying to manufacture some. Listen, I think they looked at it and said, I know what the splits say. I know what the analytics say. We just got to go with our best guys. And if we fail, we went down with our best.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that this lineup is kind of offensively based here. And I think what they're saying to themselves is we have to outslug the Mets today. And the other thing, too, is, how far is Quintana going to go in the game? To me, he's going to go, 4 innings, maybe 5. Maybe he's going to go through the Phillies lineup 1.5 times. And the Mets are extremely right-handed after that. So if you were to start the so-called, platoon lineup against left-handed hitters and kept Marsh and Stott on the bench, you would probably have them in the game pinch hitting when the Mets took Quintana out in what I would see the 4th or 5th inning, and they would play the rest of the way. So why not try to get them? Why not let them hit once, the first time through? And let's honestly, these were the guys that were supposed to be part of the Phillies mainstays. These were the young foundation. Let's throw them out there. This is the opportunity. Like you said, sink or swim with your guys. If they don't get it done today, well, then I think there's serious questions about Marsh and Stott and Bohm going forward.
No doubt. If you're back on Friday and they've lost, the questions become, are they back? And, all that stuff. I do see an interesting story in Arizona. Andrew Painter is going to pitch on Saturday in the Arizona Fall League. You got Aiden Miller. So the Phillies, I said to you before, Mike, I don't know. This feels a lot like 2008, they won a World Series. In 2009, they lost the World Series. In 2010, they lost the championship series. In 2011, every year they progressively kept losing earlier and earlier. And then by the time they got to 2012, Howard's hurt, Utley's hurt, guys are getting older, and the whole thing fell apart. This team goes to a World Series, loses, championship series, loses. If they lose this division series, they're going to look around and say, oh, my God, we got a shortstop for 10 more years making $300 million. We got Casty for 2. Does it seem similar? If they lose this series, does it seem similar?
Not to me, it really doesn't, because I think what happened that night is the Phillies got old that night back in 2011. Roy Halladay was never the same. Ryan Howard was never the same. I have confidence that Trey Turner could come back next year and have a good year. I have confidence that Bryce Harper will come back and have a good year next year. I have confidence that Zach Wheeler will have a good year next year. I just have wonder about the plan. The plan was to supplement those high-priced free agents with the young core, and the young core is showing cracks this season and in the postseason. So what do you do with that young core? And I already hear fans and people up here discussing with the media, well, the young core is Aiden Miller, the young core is Justin Crawford, and those guys will come up and be ready. But, Mike, everybody loves prospects. And prospects are the best thing. Everybody loves to talk about them. Everybody loves to tout them. However, a couple of years ago, Mick Abel and Andrew Painter were supposed to be the number 3 and 4 starters in this rotation right now. Well, Andrew Painter had Tommy John surgery, and Mick Abel has a 7 ERA at AAA this season. So you never know what's going to happen. So the plan was to supplement the stars with a young core. And right now, the second part of that plan is in doubt as we go forward here for Game 4.
All right, Mike McGarry's coverage at the Press of Atlantic City, PressOfAC.com. Game 4, it starts at 5 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, will we be talking about a Game 5 when you're back on Friday, or do you think today is it?
Well, look, Mike, my head tells me that these teams, the first law of physics, bodies in motion tend to stay in motion in the same direction. And these teams have been really headed in this direction since London. The Mets have been a better baseball team than the Phillies since London. They've been a better baseball team in this series. My head tells me that the Mets close it out today. However, Mike, I'm 59 and a half years old. I've been watching the Mets my whole life. My heart tells me I don't know what's going to happen. So my head tells me that the Mets should close it out. But these are the Mets. And you never know what's going to happen.
All right. Neither team, by the way, very good in elimination games. So something's got to give. That all happens at 5 o'clock tonight. You can listen to every pitch on 97.3 ESPN. He's Mike McGarry. He'll be back on Friday. All right, Mike. We'll appreciate you, pal.
All right. We'll see you down the road. Thank you.
All right. He says the Mets have been a better baseball team since London. They have. They've been just flat out better than the Phillies have been in every aspect. And I will say this, this group, you figure they played in 2022, and here they are, this fun team, and they didn't know what to expect. Series. And they disappoint by getting knocked out with the pressure on them. This year was never about fun. It was always just a mission. World Series or bust. Maybe this team just doesn't play well unless they're the fun, happy-go-lucky crew. They have expectations on them, and they are not handling it. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, streaming live video on the X platform at Mike Gill Show, on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Subscribe and watch the show live till 5 today. First pitch at 5 o'clock. We got so much more still in store. Doug Glanville is going to try to join us from City Field. I want to tell you about the Nizam's Indian Restaurant, Route 40, Egg Harbor Township. It's ready to serve delicious Indian dishes. Check out their Eagles football special, free tandoori chicken wings with the Eagles win for dine-in customers. It's the number 2 rated restaurant in all of New Jersey by NJ.com. They're open 7 days a week, 11:30 to 9:30. They got a special lunch buffet Sunday from 11:30 to 3. Check out their menu full at thenizam.com.
When you need the best Phillies coverage,
Liner to center, Marsh and sharp single. Around third, here comes Turner. Bellinger comes from firing to the plate at one hopper away. Turner slides in gracefully. And 2-out RBI single, and Brandon Marsh gives the Phillies the lead here in the first 1-0.
Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
Care Health Network, their new men's and family health professionals facility in Williamstown, offers preventative health screenings and primary care for the entire family with a focus on men's health. Schedule your appointment at CompleteCareNJ.org.
This season, get premium tech that inspires joy from Dell Technologies. Bring projects to life with the XPS 16. It delivers supercharged processing for enhanced productivity and freedom to express yourself. Performance-class Dell PCs with Intel Core Ultra processors deliver a dedicated engine to help accelerate AI. Enjoy free shipping, Dell rewards, and expert support. When you get a Dell PC with AI, it gives back. Shop now at Dell.com/deals.
New Jersey is leading the nation in clean energy investments with one thing in mind: you. Save money while saving the planet. New Jersey's Clean Energy Program is a statewide program that offers incentives, programs, and services that benefit New Jersey residents, businesses, education, government, and nonprofit entities to help us all save energy, money, and the environment. Discover how you can start saving today and help ensure a cleaner future. Visit njcleanenergy.com to see what New Jersey's Clean Energy Program can do for you. A message from the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities.
A new era of chicken is here to stay, and it's not your parents' poultry. The Cantina Chicken menu from Taco Bell is slow roasted and perfectly seasoned. Take it tacoed up in a crispy white corn tortilla with cheese inside and out, or wrapped in a burrito with fresh purple cabbage and freshly prepared pico de gallo. However you like it, you'll never chicken the same way again. Get yours today at your nearest Taco Bell and join rewards to earn free food. Available at participating stores. Rewards points are earned on qualifying purchases. All items while supplies last. Subject to terms.
New Jersey might be small, but there's a lot of wow packed into this little state. Cork-popping wows, time to dine wows, Pine Barren wows. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or diabetes, you're at higher risk of being hospitalized from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Autumn is in the air, and like the leaves, prices are falling at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale this weekend. We've got tons of products on sale, like 3-ton jacks for under $100, 5,000-watt generators, $250 off, plus dual bevel miter saws at nearly half the price of the competition. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 10/13/24 while supplies last. So hurry in. Limitations apply.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at Villa Basilari in Buena for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
seizethedeal.com.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, next hour, we're going heavy on the Phils and Mets. Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad, will join me, and Doug Glanville from Citi Field around 3:30 for Glanville. Bob at 3 o'clock. We'll get Bob's take on what happened last night, big picture thoughts, and then I want to get Glanville's take as a player on approach, pressing, the moment, all that stuff. He's watching these games. He's calling these games. What is he seeing from these Phillies hitters? So we'll have a lot of Phils in the next hour. We do have football at 4 today with Wednesday. Mosher's here on a Wednesday, and then Earnshaw has the Nuggets today. 609-403-0973 on the text board. 609-403-0973. A couple text messages that have been coming in throughout the day. Like Josh said that Mets had the last bat. They won the game in big spots that matter. The Mets have been fighting for weeks to get in. Yeah, this whole thing Monday, the numbers for the teams with the bye have been terrible. Okay, the Dodgers lost last night. The Yankees lost the other day. I mean, the teams with the bye, and it is what it is. I don't know what you do outside of what I think that Major League Baseball needs to do. They need to add another team and get rid of this week of these teams sitting around doing nothing. It's not the way baseball teams perform. They do not want to sit around. This is not this is not a reward for them. It's not a reward to sit for a week. So 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. You want 7 teams in? Just make 8 teams. I mean, what's the difference? You've already diluted it by adding the 7th team. Just put another team in the damn thing and make the teams not have to complain about this. I think I saw the stat this morning that the teams with the bye in the National League have a combined record of like 6-15. And that's not why. I mean, who knows? We don't know. There's no way to measure whether or not that's the reason. By the way, if you let in an 8th team to the playoffs, it would have been the Seattle Mariners at 85 and 77. They finished one game out. And the Arizona Diamondbacks would have been, they had the same record as both the Braves and the Mets, but they lost on a tiebreaker. So they would have been the 8th team this year. And you would have played the Mets anyway in the wild card round. 2 versus 7. Phillies versus Mets. Bob Wankel coming up.
The playoffs continue on ESPN Radio.
Ball in the air right field. This one back. This one's got a chance. That one is gone. And Alonso tosses the bat as he rounds first.
The Mets, up 2-1, look to finish off the Phillies and advance to the NLCS. Can the Phillies survive and force a decisive Game 5? Game 4, the Phillies and Mets. With first pitch at 5 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
It's Phillies Mets Game 4 tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 5 p.m.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. Have you checked out the most loved Indian restaurant in South Jersey? The Nizam's Indian Restaurant on Route 40 in Egg Harbor Township is ready to serve you delicious Indian dishes. NJ.com ranked them as the number 2 best restaurant in all of New Jersey. And this just in. It's their Eagles football special. Your table receives free tandoori, spicy chicken wings if the Eagles win for dine-in customers only. Visit thenizams.com for more information.
With fall savings at the Home Depot, you can get up to $1,600 off select appliances from top brands like GE Profile. Save space and time with the new combo washer and dryer and do-it-all-in-one machine. And with Smart Dispense technology, the right amount of detergent is automatically added to every wash. Laundry day is a whole lot smarter with the GE Profile Ultra-Fast Combo with Smart Dispense only at the Home Depot. Right now, save up to $1,600 and financing on select appliances with fall savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Price about September 26th through October 16th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
It's the time of year for killer deals. You've had your eye on some hot new wheels. We want to pay off your loan or lease and tell your old car to rust in peace.
Get your Matt Black Kia today. Buried in a loan or lease? Matt Black Kia wants to get you released. Then treat yourself to 0 down, 0 payments until next year. Even 0% up to 72 months on every clearly marked new Matt Black Kia in stock. You won't need a costume to get a brand new Matt Black Kia Forte LXS under 20 grand. That's right, a brand new Kia, just $19,999 with any trade. That's less than most used vehicles.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
Approved credit 24 EV9 and 6, $1388 per thousand. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to MattBlackKiaNJ.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 10/31/24. Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
This season, get premium tech that inspires joy from Dell Technologies. Bring projects to life with the XPS 16. It delivers supercharged processing for enhanced productivity and freedom to express yourself. Performance-class Dell PCs with Intel Core Ultra processors deliver a dedicated engine to help accelerate AI. Enjoy free shipping, Dell rewards, and expert support. When you get a Dell PC with AI, it gives back. Shop now at Dell.com/deals.
Mira, Jorge, let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak.
But floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Break in falling prices at Parkview RV's Fall Open House. This Saturday, October 12th from 9 to 4 at Parkview RV in Smyrna. Huge discounts on a huge inventory of new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, and truck campers. It's a Parkview party with low financing, refreshments, and door prizes. Check out must-attend seminars on batteries and winterization. Attendees qualify for service department coupons. Don't miss the Fall Open House this Saturday from 9 to 4 at Parkview RV with part specials up to 20% off select items and 10% off labor service specials. Don't miss the Parkview RV Fall Open House this Saturday from 9 to 4 with the lowest prices of the season. It's all happening at Parkview RV, Route 13 in Smyrna, across from Delaware's only rest area. Parkview RV, home of the great deal.
home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN.
Ooh, that's good.
WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
All right, 3 o'clock, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad is going to join us in like 10 or 15 minutes from now. Doug Glanville from Citi Field at 3:30. So a lot of baseball in the back end of the hour. By the way, some Eagles stuff I want to get into while we have a little bit of time. We will have football at 4 with Mosher today. Phillies lineup is out for those of you who haven't seen it. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Bohm, Real Muto, Stott, Weston Wilson, and Brandon Marsh. That is the Phillies lineup today. So Stott and Marsh are going against the lefty Quintana, and Weston Wilson gets the start. Hayes is out. Game 4 coverage on 97.3 ESPN begins at 5 o'clock. Of course, the Mets lead the series 2-1. Your text messages have been coming in all throughout the day. Before Bob gets on, let's read off some more of the text messages and react to that. All right. Holy mackerel, there's a lot of text messages in here. Let me try to filter out what we've read already and what we have still coming in. Mike, Edwin Diaz is getting rest. Keith says a team without a closer and a 7, 8, 9 hitters and no bench. Phew. The Phillies lineup, I think, I've said all along, I just don't trust the lineup. I don't think their lineup is good enough. I've been maintaining that. Are they good enough to win a World Series? Sure. They're one of the teams that can win a World Series. I told Earnshaw, I said, I just don't think they're good enough. I don't think this lineup's good enough. I just have not felt. Are they good enough to win 90 games in the regular season? We talk about this all the time. Sean Manaea is a very good lefty. When the Cincinnati Reds come to town on Tuesday night and they throw a lefty at you, it's not Sean Manaea. So the Phillies lineup is good enough to pound out runs against the number 4, 5 starter on the Reds and the Pirates and the, throw out the teams that just aren't very good. Washington, Florida. You can get by and win a bunch of games because you have a deep lineup. We talked about this with Atlanta last year. You can pound those teams into submission in the regular season. But when you're facing a guy who's really tough every night of the week in the playoffs, it becomes a different situation for your lineup. And the Phillies lineup is not this elite back end of the lineup. I think you look at the Mets and their lineup. And look, the Mets pixie dust might run out at some point. They might run out of gas. And you look back and say, man, that Mets team had a little something special. But Pete Alonso right now, all regular season, he had 4 opposite field home runs. He has 3 in the playoffs. It's just a different game. You have to make adjustments. You have to make changes. You have to realize I'm getting the best of the best every night of the week. And Pete Alonso hitting the ball to right field is something he didn't do all season long. It's almost like it feels like the Sixers when they play against the Celtics in the playoffs and or the Knicks last year. And you got guys hitting 3-pointers that never do it all. Josh Hart hit 4 threes in a game. He didn't hit 4 threes in the entire 82-game schedule. And now in the playoffs, he does it twice. You step up to another level in the playoffs. Iglesias, he's a journeyman guy. He was a top prospect that just kind of bounced around, but he's a professional hitter. He's not up there swinging and chasing and striking out. He puts the ball in play. Vientos is a guy who's gone through stuff, right? He didn't make the team, or he makes the team. Then he gets sent back to the minors. And, he wasn't the guy, then he is the guy. And now he's an important guy. Lindor. Listen, I was tough on Lindor. You signed him for a lot of money. In the first 4 years in New York, I don't think you got the ROI you were thinking, Mets fans. But this guy has persevered and kind of stepped up, and he's now a guy when he comes to the plate, you're like, oh, man, Lindor's up, damn it. Nimmo always seems like he gets big hits. Is he great? Is his numbers jump off the page? No, but you don't feel like here's a strikeout. You feel like here's a guy who the moment's not too big for. Same with Winker. He comes up and crushes one last night. The kid Taylor, people are knocking Bohm. Bohm is the one guy last night who crushed the ball into the gap last night. Unfortunately, he has a piano on his back, rounding first base. Everybody's complaining about Bohm. He finally crushes a ball into the right center field gap, and Taylor just makes an unbelievable play off the wall and fires a strike to second base. I mean, Bohm is the slowest guy out there, for God's sakes. We forget about that because Bohm, he's in the dugout. They catch him on the camera. I don't even know what he was saying. Anybody read his lips on what he was complaining about last night? But he was the one guy who went opposite field and crushed the ball to right center field gap. I mean, that's a hit that you're like, all right, maybe he's coming back. But his 19 pitches he has seen in 10 plate appearances, Alec Bohm. It's awful. I mean, Alec Bohm has been awful in these playoffs. He's been terrible. He was bad in September. He's been awful in these playoffs, but he did hit that ball last night to right center. And you're thinking, okay, maybe he's got his stroke back, and he gets thrown out at second base. So there's so many things. And look, when you lose, it all gets put under the microscope. It all gets, magnified 10 times, especially on the brink. You can find everybody's warts. It's so easy to find when you lose. But these warts should not be all that surprising. That doesn't mean that you can overcome them. You can't overcome them because everybody has their warts. The Mets do. The Dodgers, obviously. The Dodgers are a team. They won more games than you did. And here they are in the same situation where they just can't get anybody out. They have no pitching. Their pitching stinks. Walker Buehler has to throw the game last night, and they just don't have anybody else to go to. Today, for God's sakes, they're throwing a bullpen game. The Dodgers are throwing a bullpen game today. With all the money they spend, they have to throw a bullpen game today. So everybody's got problems.
If I can backtrack to what you said a few minutes ago, Mike, about, when guys like Turner or Bohm or Stott and Marsh, when they walk up to the plate, no one's like, all right, here we go. You might get something here, like you do with some of the Mets hitters. Is that a poor evaluation job by the front office then?
I don't know, man. I mean, like, for instance, I think when Schwarber comes up, the other team does have some fear. Like, he can put one out at any time. The problem is if you get him to chase, if you get him, where he's – and look, he's the one guy who's taken pitches. I think he's seen more pitches than the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 guy combined. It feels like anyway. But I'm, and look, Schwarber, I don't think is exorbitantly like – what's he make? Like 100, whatever. I mean, he makes $100 million.
He's making $20 million, the same as Castellanos this year.
Right. Well, those guys are just so streaky because they're power hitters. They take big hacks. They're exciting. They swing and miss. And then, but I'm like, to me, the guy who I think it really jumps off as, man, is Turner for $300 million. Like, I'm looking at the Padre game last night. Tatis is hitting .556 with 4 home runs in these playoffs. That's a guy that when he comes, now he's very erratic at times too, and he's a personality, but he is, when he comes to the plate right now, you are like, oh, Jesus. Right now, I do not get that feel whenever Trey Turner comes up. I just don't feel like, okay, this guy's getting a hit no matter what. Like, well, you felt like that when Utley came up. When Utley came up, whether they got the hit or not, you're like, I know he's going to give me. And listen, Turner had that at bat that he walked the other night. He got on, but it's like for $300 million, a walk is not impactful. Where is the impactful result in the at bat? Where's that 2 guys on and I crush a home run? Where's that 2 guys on and I hit that double, and I steal a base and the place goes wild? That's just not there. And I feel like this team went from the fun team to now it's all business, and they're not the team that likes being the favorite as much. They lost last year as the favorite, and now they're not playing well with that same label on them again.
And I think the being a threat is an interesting conversation, Mike, because I don't need you to be an elite power hitter to be a threat. You go back in the day, Edgar Martinez, he was a threat. David Justice in the postseason, you were always worried when he came up to bat. Like, you don't need Trey Turner or anyone to be a 30, 40 homer guy necessarily. You just need him to be the guy who steps up in big moments.
Yeah, just an impactful at bat. Give me an impactful, game where when every time you come up, the other team is like, oh man, this guy's up again. And Harper, to some extent, I think, you feel like when he's up, something good's going to happen.
I think Harper and Schwarber are really the only two at this point.
Yeah, I still don't listen, as much as Castellanos has had a solid series, I don't sit here and say, man, I really trust that guy. Can he carry me for it? Look, he did this last year. He had the series against the Braves. So, yes, I know you don't need to tell me, look, that's my guy, Castellanos. No crap. I know Castellanos can do this. Can he do it for 3 weeks is my point. I get he can be this guy for a handful of days. Can he do it for 3 weeks? Can he do it back-to-back days? Right now, Castellanos, 385. Okay, he's been very good, but I can't ask you to be good for 2 days or 3 days. I need you to be good for 20 games. That's the difference. Turner's hitting 273. It's good. It's not great. Other than that, you really this team's hitting 204 as a team. 204 as a team.
And again, they've invested a stupid amount of money in this lineup. And so if you're going to put that kind of money in the lineup, you need more.
Listen,
guys.
Castellanos is kind of the guy that we kind of point out because he had such crazy splits in the playoff series last year against the Braves. He hit like 500 with 4 home runs. And then the next series, they pointed it out on last night. Porzinski said, he was like, this is the same guy. He's like, 1 week, you're this guy. And then the next, he's like, the same guy was 0 for 14 with 11 strikeouts or whatever he ended up being in that series. And that's the thing is the Phillies have so many of those guys. But I think, and Mike in Northfield just texted in. He says, Mike, I totally agree. This team is very tight. They need to loosen up. I think this is a team that right now, in 2022, they played as the underdog. They played like, we're hair's on fire. We got nothing to lose. Let's have some fun, dancing on my own. Until they became the favorite. Last year, they became the favorite against the Diamondbacks. They weren't the favorite against the Braves last year. They went in, they had fun, and had nothing to lose. They have not been in the favorite. They weren't the favorite in the series against the Cardinals. They weren't the series against the Braves. They probably really weren't the favorite in the Padres series in 2022 either. They weren't the favorite in the Astros series. They lost to a better team. But they didn't like that Astros series. I think the moment was kind of like swallowed them up a little bit. All right, Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad, covers the Phillies, pops into the show right now here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. On the brink of elimination, Bob, let's get right into it. The lineup today, I'll get your thoughts on last night, but the lineup today, they've thrown the analytics out the window, essentially. They said, lefty pitcher be damned. Stott, Marsh are back in there. Weston, Wilson, is this the right move? Do you like what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to tell you that Weston Wilson's going to fix everything for the Phillies here today, but you just can't go back to Austin Hayes. I mean, he's shown you nothing at any point since he's been here. I know he's been injured. I know he's been, sick. There's a lot of different things going on with Austin Hayes, but you can't run him back out there in an elimination game. So I think you have to roll the dice and just see what happens as far as left field goes. And then in center field, look, I've seen a lot of sentiment online about how Johan Rojas, you didn't expect him to hit. And, he's actually had better at bats than some of the other guys in the lineup. I don't know if that's bargaining or, where people are at with this, but the guy's not a major league hitter. He's killing you. He presents no offensive value to you whatsoever. So even though Brandon Marsh can't hit left-handers, just go down with the better player. And I think that's the way that they're looking at it here.
Yeah. By the way, he's 5 for 9 against Quintana.
That's fine. I don't care. I don't need to see Johan Rojas.
Listen, I like Rojas more than most, and I have no problem with him not being in the lineup in this particular game. I will say last night. Okay, let's go through some of the moments of the game last night. Third inning, Sosa gets hit. Rojas offers the bunt. He pulls back. Okay, you're behind the count 1-0. Why not lay the bunt down? He ends up striking out, and then Schwarber strikes out, but still you have a runner on second base now. Sosa and Turner hits a single. Now you tie the game up. If he's going to be in the lineup, they have to utilize him for those reasons.
Yeah, it felt to me like maybe they were trying to catch the Mets off guard and show bunt early. And then once they showed and didn't get it down, it was like, okay, we don't really view this as a sacrifice situation. And you can argue the wisdom of that. But yeah, I mean, look, Johan Rojas has a place on a Major League Baseball team as a late inning defensive replacement, and he is not an everyday center fielder that should be taking up any spot in your lineup, especially as you're scraping by. I mean, there's this idea that, well, hey, if Schwarber and Harper and the guys in the middle and Turner, they don't do their jobs, then, is Johan Rojas really the issue? And my argument is like, yeah, I get that in theory, but if you are trying desperately to manufacture offense, you can't just punt on one of your 9 lineup spots. That's all the more reason to go in and take a chance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think one of the problems has been Rojas is an automatic out for the most part. They just don't have any other option. That's part of their problem is your option is Hayes or Marsh against a lefty, and now you're in the same spot. So they're deciding we'll go with Devin. That being said, so many other things in this moment. 6th inning last night, huge spot in the game, 2 on, nobody out, and maybe the worst at bat of Bryce Harper's career.
Yeah, as much as you applaud the game 2 effort, certainly game 3 in part falls on him. Superstar players aren't going to do it every time, as much as we want to talk about how good and how clutch Bryce Harper has been, and he has been. Just look at the numbers, look at them historically compared to any other player. He's right up there on pretty much every category, but he didn't have a good game last night, and there was nobody there to really, back him up in key spots. I mean, I thought Castellanos actually hit the ball pretty hard. He lines into the double play. I guess you could say that's a little bit of bad luck, but there were so many different things that went wrong for that team yesterday that it's really hard to just isolate one individual player or one individual sequence. I mean, it was, to borrow Jason Kelsey's post-Super Bowl thing, it was the whole team.
It was a lot of the team. Let's go through a couple more real quick, Bob. Nola pitches to Alonso, walks the bases loaded. They go to Kerkering, bases loaded, no out. They get the ground ball to Sosa, and he bobbles it. Is that a double play?
Certainly has a chance to be. He certainly did not give them a chance to potentially turn a double play there. And, Kerkering's in a really difficult spot. He does the hard part, though. He gets the first 2 outs, and then he can't finish. I'm not gonna kill him for that, but he has certainly not been very good in this series. And then you can look at even some of the decision-making in terms of bullpen utilization yesterday. You go to Ruiz again in a spot where the game is pretty much ready to get out of hand entirely. And I mean, look, at 4-0, it felt like 40-0, but once you get to 6, it's all over. And what was really strange about that is you go to Ruiz, but then you go to Estevez the next inning, and he ends up throwing over 25 pitches with a game 4 looming in which you're probably going to have to empty the bullpen today. Like, the whole thing was just mind-numbing to watch unfold. And
yeah, I really thought he left Alvarado out there after the first walk. All right, that's it, buddy.
Yeah, same deal. Alvarado out there way too long. I know he's just trying to conserve at that point. I know he felt that the game was over, so he doesn't want to have to go through another pitcher in that inning. I guess I get that, but look, Rob he's been far from perfect in this series. There are a number of things that he has done in real time that I've said, I don't know about this. But at the end of the day, especially as it relates to the bullpen, none of these guys are performing. So if Strom's not going to perform and Estevez isn't going to perform and Hoffman and Alvarado, I mean, there's only so much you can do when none of your arms are being productive or clutch. I mean, it's been amazing to watch what has been, even if you weren't super bullish on this bullpen, even the biggest hater would say that this is a top 10 bullpen in baseball this year. And they can't get an out when it matters.
Yeah, listen, this has been unbelievable. Somebody said they've already given up more runs in this postseason run than last year's postseason run. I mean, it's just been an unbelievable failure from an area where you thought you had a strength, right? Yeah. You had 2 guys that you really felt, Strom, Hoffman, they could get guys out. You brought a closer in here, Estevez, something you didn't have last year, and those guys have been complete non-factors in this. Ranger Suarez today, is that the only option, or do you have something better?
Well, I know the Phillies thinking is we want Zach Wheeler in a game 5. And not only do you want Zach Wheeler for game 5, but I think you want the possibility of Zach Wheeler in a game 5 looming over the Mets a little bit in game 4. I think you kind of amplify the pressure on New York. It's all on Philadelphia. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Phillies aren't carrying the vast majority of the pressure, but knowing what awaits you in a game 5, I think has to crank up the intensity a little bit for the Mets here in game 4. Maybe they press. Ranger Suarez is a total coin flip here. If you told me right now, Ranger Suarez will get you 9 outs and give up 1 earned run today, I would take that. I think that would be a massive win for the Phillies if he can get you anywhere between 9 and 12 outs and keep you in the game.
And you have Sanchez. I mean, so imagine he could possibly follow you up. Hey, throw 2 there. You get 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you're hoping your bullpen comes to play. But, I mean, realistically, this offense, I mean, Nola, he didn't pitch a great game. He left the game last night. The team had 2 hits. I mean, this has been the story with the pitching.
Yeah, I mean, you could have the conversation about Aaron Nola. At the end of the day, when you're paying a guy $170 million plus, you would like to think that he's going to be the one that goes out and blanks a team over 7 innings and is that guy. And he was not yesterday. He was okay. I don't think he buried the Phillies. It's very hard to pitch with absolutely no margin for error. I think people have to understand that, obviously. And, certainly other pitchers in this postseason have pitched with very little margin for error, and they've done it more successfully. So not to make an excuse for Aaron Nola. I thought he was okay yesterday. When you do like the laundry list of items that prevented the Phillies from winning game 3, though, Aaron Nola is probably 4 or 5 for me. And if Rob Thompson was a little bit more aggressive with the bullpen, and again, I know that he's not super confident in the bullpen in this moment, but should he have faced Pete Alonso in the 6th inning? Probably not. And had they been a little quicker to the pen there, maybe Nola goes 5 innings and only 2 earned runs, and you say, okay, that's you'll take that.
Do you play Bohm today?
Well, certainly they are. And look, the one thing I'll say for playing Alec Bohm is that Quintana's the type of guy that you can get a little jumpy at. And we know that the Phillies are certainly susceptible to being jumpy at the plate. We've seen that plenty here this week. So Bohm is a little bit more all fields. Let the ball come to you. Use the right center field. We saw that yesterday on his single. Well, and so that's the argument for. The argument against is that he looks fried mentally. I don't know if it's immaturity. I don't know if it's frustration. I don't know if there's other things going on in his life. He just looks ill-prepared for the intensity of the moment. And I don't know what we've seen this with him throwing the bat, spiking the helmet, showing frustration, but he just does not look, he doesn't look well. Honestly,
where all of a sudden this guy was about as consistent of a guy that they had all season long. He had a little slump in like May, but I mean, he was like 270 or better almost every month this year. And he's just been a disaster. And last night he finally, I mean, he hit a ball harder last night. That ball, he hit the right center gap. Then he gets thrown out at second base, for God's sake. I mean,
there's the baseball part of it where you go, he's 3 for his last 31. That's obviously not very good. But then there's just the composure part of it. And it makes you wonder, like, what does that look like today? But baseball is a funny game. It's one swing, changes the whole deal. And maybe tonight we're talking about, wow, look at the resilience of Alec Bohm. I mean, I don't know. But you certainly would like a steadier hand than what you've seen here.
Obviously, they've got to figure out a way to get some runs here. They've got to get this offense going. They're going to do it tonight with guys that have not performed, lefties against lefties. The splits are not great. Weston Wilson is in the lineup. Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad is with us as you take a look at this team moving forward. 2022, they're the underdogs against the Cardinals, fun. Underdog against the Braves, fun. Underdogs last year for the most part. And then they became the favorite against Arizona. Is this a team that is more wired to be free, loosey-goosey, have some fun, as opposed to pressure's on, we expect you to win?
Yeah, I mean, history suggests that the Phillies are not good at front running, that they're not the team that can really drop the hammer in advantageous situations. They haven't done it. They didn't do it with the series lead against Houston. They didn't do it last year. They struggled to really separate themselves in the second half this season. And look, the Mets, I thought the Phillies were a better baseball team than the Mets. And funny things can happen in 5 games, but the Mets are dictating to the Phillies right now. And so I'll still say that the Phillies are the better team on paper. They look like they are not ready for the moment. And that's very surprising considering the amount of postseason baseball this team has played over the past 3 Octobers.
Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad. All right, Phillies in about an hour and a half. First pitch could be the last time we see them. And, of course, Bob, we appreciate the time as always, pal.
All right, Mike. Talk soon.
All right. There he is, Bob Wankel crossing broad in Red October, Philly, and of course here on the Sports Bash. All right, coming up, we've got plenty more. Doug Glanville's going to join us live from Citi Field in Atlanta. This hour of the show is brought to you by Broadly Plumb Heating and Air Conditioning. Your trust 3907 online. Doug Glanville will join us next on the Sports Bash.
When you need the best Phillies coverage, there's only one place to get it.
Stott swing goes the other way, left center field, the hit into the alleyway. This rolls all the way to the wall. Around third, here comes Castellanos. He scores. Bryson Stott.
Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
O'Reilly. Need a little help? O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. Need advice? We've got advice. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Exceptional customer service. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You've got a Pepto predicament, moviegoer.
Hey, I can hear your stomach grumbling.
Sorry, I ate that entire tub of popcorn with extra butter. You overdid it, and now your movie has turned into a blockbuster bellyache. Undo it with Pepto.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Pepto chewables provide fast 5-symptom relief, so you can focus on the action on the big screen instead of in your stomach. When you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
What's better than 1 win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get 1 line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. Have you checked out the most loved Indian restaurant in South Jersey? The Nizam's Indian Restaurant on Route 40 in Egg Harbor Township is ready to serve you delicious Indian dishes. NJ.com ranked them as the #2 best restaurant in all of New Jersey. And this just in. It's their Eagles football special. Your table receives free tandoori, spicy chicken. Win for dine-in customers only. Visit thenizams.com for more information.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Glanville is part of the ESPN radio broadcast of the Phillies and the Mets. He's going to give us his insight on what he's been seeing in this series. Brought to you by Broadleys Plumbing and Heating, 609-390-3907, online broadleys.net. As Doug Glanville joins us live from Citi Field, you'll hear him and Boog Sciambi right here on 97.3 ESPN at 5 o'clock tonight. We'll have all the action on 97.3 ESPN. Doug, game day, I appreciate you joining us. And last night, give us a little perspective of what you saw from the radio booth in terms of why the Mets are able to get the job done and the Phillies are here on the brink.
Well, you have to start with Sean Manaea. Just the fact that he's elevated his game so much from a year ago by putting in certain work in the offseason. He added a sinker. He's really strengthened his keeper. So basically, two pitches, and one of which has really existed, he's now dominating with them. And when you have that kind of command, where you're hitting all spots, all corners, changing speed, tonight would have been tough on anybody last night. So that was a big challenge. And so games like that, you try to stay close, and you hope maybe the bullpen you can get to. But once the Mets were able to break it open off the Phillies bullpen, then it was a real tall order to try to come back against it.
What's going on with the Phillies offensively? They chase a lot. They're getting into some spots. When you watch this team pressing, balled lineup, what is your observation of why the Phillies offense struggled in game one, struggled now in game three, struggled for most of game two?
Chase is a big part of it. Early in the year, they weren't necessarily a big chase game, but the numbers show second half they started to really expand the zone. And it may be a function of trying to do too much, but at the same time, you do have some aggressive hitters, Trey Turner, Castellanos, they like to, swing and be on the attack. And but you usually have balanced guys like Harper, big pitches, guys that can complement that. Right now, collectively, they've been chasing out of the zone. And the way the Mets rotation is constructed, a veteran guy, Severino, they know how to expand and stay near the zone to induce chase. So that's a bad combination. We have a kind of veteran pitching staff that knows how to work the middle on the edges. They're not necessarily blowing you away. But what they are doing is they're forcing you to be your own worst enemy. And so far, that's how the Mets pitching is succeeded.
Doug Glanville is live at Citi Field. He'll be on the call at 5 o'clock tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. You look at this team, they've made some changes to the lineup again. I mean, for a playoff team, to keep making changes yesterday, no Scott, no Marsh, Doug. A lefty pitcher in the lineup, Scott and Marsh struggled versus lefties. But is this the move that you expected and would have gone with if you're Philadelphia? Hey, go with my best guys, numbers we can.
We did ask your manager Rob Thompson about that, and he's consistently said, even before today, that he likes their at-bats against lefties when you face it off of more recent history. So that's what he's going off of, saying, hey, Mark is that pretty good at-bats against lefties towards the end. And then you're comparing him versus Rojas. Mark get a little extra stock, a little more stock, but you may not get quite the defense, but he's a good defender. And stock gives you defense and speed, maybe finds a way to get on. So there's, those are the calculus, and they try to, balance it by the numbers as much as possible. But it's also a feel. That's what the manager brings in. Like, okay, I like this guy's quality of at bats, and he's trying to figure out how to get this offense going. And it might just take something a little bit outside the ordinary, or guys like Wilson getting there, whatever it takes to just spark change.
Doug, a lot of people look at that sixth inning. Manaya's on the ropes, 2 on, nobody out, and the Harper at bat. Obviously, probably an at bat he would like back, and then a double play. Is that the moment for you, or is there some other spot in that game last night where you thought, man, this just isn't their day?
Anytime Harper comes up, it could be a moment. So you recognize that he's that good. But Manaya just made great pitches. He just kept working that sweeper away, slider, keep going and inching his way off the plate. And he comes from such a wild angle. You remember he got this from Chris Sale. He drops down sidearm, and he's able to throw crossfire. That's really tough on lefties. It's also tough on righties. And he's found a way to make these radical mechanical changes and still hold down his control. That's what sort of showcased in that particular bat with Manaya. The other element of it is like the Phillies, just like if you go back to game one and you look at Wheeler, the Mets won that game with Wheeler being one of the most dominant performances and pitchers of this year. And when you win games like that, it's because they were able to get to the Philly bullpen. That confidence doesn't go anywhere, and the Philly bullpen gets knocked around so far this series. And that was what was addressed at the trade deadline, trying to get more pieces. And so far, they've not really been able to hold it down. And what that does is you do what the Mets do. They feel like, all right, their bullpen isn't their strength, so they're pushing guys into the seventh inning or going at least six to try to get a better setup on the back end. The Mets are doing it without necessarily full confidence in their bullpen. And the Phillies, no reason to give up on their bullpen, but the bullpen has really struggled this series.
Big time. Your perspective on the ground ball to Sosa, is that a double play if he fields it cleanly?
Well, I mean, it's close. You have to, you think about Sosa overall being an asset defensively. I think that's how you look at, how he, how he's in the lineup, basically. I mean, he's got some power, very understated power. But there's a lot of conversions that you say, well, could have gone better if it was cleaner. But the real issue comes back to execution on the pitching side, really. I mean, Nola did what Nola does. He's steady. He doesn't really beat himself. He's going to give up some home runs. The real question outside of that, plays like that specifically is, Hoffman and Kerkering and Alvarado and why those guys are not at that lockdown level. It may be a function of just seeing these guys so much this year that you just are not caught off guard. But that is no longer a sure thing. And there's times during the year it was a sure thing, including some of the defensive play by Sosa.
So obviously, you're on the brink right now, so you got to throw everything out and just, go for it. Ranger Suarez is the guy. I know he said Wheeler is available in an emergency situation, but when you're in these type of situations, you just got to stick with your plan. Ranger's our guy. You go that way, or do you do something out of the norm, regular thing, and see if you can maybe go with Wheeler on the short rest?
I think you go with Ranger. I mean, Ranger, they like how he threw the ball recently. And that's a big deal because the second half was not close to his first half. He was injured. A lot of stuff went down. But he was one of the best pitchers in baseball in the first half when he was right. So you kind of hope that guy shows up. And the pivoting that you do, if he doesn't show up, you just make the quick change. You have guys in the bullpen that you might have to bring in, like you mentioned, Wheeler, because this is it. This is the back against the wall game. So they have options, and pitching certainly generally isn't their weakness in terms of options. They just need to get the bats going where they're putting the pressure now on the Mets to go through their bullpen and really have to get someone out of the game early. So that a guy like Quintana pounds the zone. You got to be ready for that.
Obviously, you take a look at this team and all that it's accomplished. In 2022, they were kind of the new kid. They got in. They upset the Cardinals. They upset the Braves. Upset the Padres. Last year, they had an upset again. And then when they had the expectations against Arizona, disappointing. Does this look like a team, Doug, that's a little tight with expectations?
Well, the interesting thing about that is, you always ask yourself, and I asked this question last night, like how would you want the season really to go? Because it's never going to be, a steady climb uphill. You're always going to have these valleys and problems and challenges and injuries. So you go back to, you mentioned 2022, 23, like, okay, you go back and the Braves win the division as they have. mostly the Mets and Braves fighting it out, and you get in, but you got off to a slow start. You lost your manager one year. The next year, you got off to another slow start. This year, that was not the case. They got off to a great start. It turned out that's not necessarily the better thing, right? You want to win the division, of course, but you got the bye. Sometimes that has an impact on players, and you just never know. So you can't really script the best case scenario. You just try to put yourself in a position, and they're doing that. They're in a position. Yes, they'd rather be up 2-1 or swept, but they are in a position where they just have to win 2 in a row.
Yeah.
So I would take that over anything because of their talent and the fact that, if a pitcher is off at all, this lineup will get them.
What is the feedback that you have gotten from the current players? You didn't have to go through this, really, sitting out a week. It seems that the teams, the Dodgers, the Yankees, they're losing. The Braves complained about it last year. I mean, what is the feedback from the players about the impact of the 5 to 6 days off?
I mean, it's not great. It's not great. I know they've tried to address it and shorten it, and but it's one of those things where you want to give a reward to the team that wins the division. You play 162 games. It's hard to put everybody on par. So they've done it by home field advantage. They've done it by, all kinds of rounds. You get to play the wild card team if you're number one. They've done a lot to try to give some advantage, as they should, to teams that have earned it during the regular season. It should be an uphill climb for the teams that just, bail in or back in or whatever. Now, the advantage of the Mets is that they've been playing these high leverage, crazy situations for a long time. End of the season and, game 162, the doubleheader, they've beaten some great bullpens in that process. They're feeling it. And I would take that feeling over anything if you could have it, right? The momentum, the feeling of like, we can't be beat. That's the trade-off of winning a division and kind of sitting back, is because you don't have that, battle testing that teams have when they're walking into your house after like squeaking by the Brewers.
Yeah, it's funny. At this point, you've already let 7 teams in. Just put an 8th team in and play 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. So this conversation isn't a problem, because obviously the teams don't look at this as a reward for getting the 1st and 2nd seed. Just you've already watered down the field with 7 teams. Add another team and let them play during the week so everybody's on the same playing field here. When you guys open your broadcast tonight, Boog Sciambi and my guest Doug Glanville, what is your biggest key to a Game 4 victory for Philadelphia?
I go to Ranger Suarez, number one. He needs to gain some depth, go deeper into this game. Bullpen has been a little shaky, maybe confidence. So that is number one. I'd also go back to a guy like Alec Bohm. I put a big circle around him to have the bats he had early in the season, the RBIs against lefties, like the single and got thrown out at second, and the ball he hit in right center. That's the Alec Bohm the Phillies need, because he can really like turn over that lineup after you get past Harper. I see him as really critical as a right-handed bat, because as you mentioned, there's a couple lefties after him, and they're not going to be looked to early on off of Quintana to be the offensive difference makers. They're going to hold it down, and eventually Quintana comes out, and then you have your lefties. Bohm needs to be that pivot for the Philly offense.
Yeah, he hit that ball to right center last night, and you felt like, okay, and then he gets thrown out at second base, and they were like, oh, man. But hopefully that swing is something for him. We'll see. Doug Glanville will be on the call, 5 o'clock, first pitch right here on 97.3 ESPN. Doug, as always, we appreciate you, pal.
All right. Take care. Appreciate you having me.
All right, Doug Glanville, at Doug Glanville on the X platform, and kind enough to join us on game day. Getting ready for the broadcast. It's all happening right now at Citi Field. Doug Glanville, the most important guy, is it Ranger Suarez or is it somebody else? 609-403-0973. The takeaways of the Phillies, there's so many things. A lot of the fans get wrapped up into these bit players. Weston Wilson's going to play tonight, all right? And I don't have a problem with Weston Wilson playing. To me, that's just another reason to me why I've said I don't think this team is really good enough. When I have to play Weston Wilson, when I'm a fan and I'm wondering why not Cody Clemens? Why isn't Cody Clemens in the game? We're getting a chance. Cody Clemens in the month of September hit 192. He had moments, like he came up in some moments. We remember the moments. But in reality,
Cody Clements in September hit 192. Like, come on. If you want to win a World Series, it's not like, hey, I got to play Cody Clements. You know, we have to stop trying to find ways to shoehorn these guys into the game and ask more of the players that got us here. You don't get here and then all of a sudden decide, you know what's a great idea? Cody Clements, who's hitting 143 in the last 15 days. In the last 30 days, 192. And on the season, Cody Clements is a 219 hitter. So I get it. He gives you some solid at-bats. He grinds out some stuff. He had some key hits and some big moments that you remember. You know, when somebody does something you remember, it sticks out in your mind. But there's a bigger picture. You know, you get down on your knee, you remember that moment when you ask your wife to marry you. You know, it's a big moment in your life. But people get divorced. You know what I'm saying? Like, that might be a moment that you remember, but there's a lot of things that lead you to demise. Clemens has a lot of moments where he's got down on his knee, and we all remember them. But there's a lot of other times in there where the stats bear. 143 in the last 15 days, 192 in the last 30 days. We got to stop saying, get this guy a chance and that guy a chance. When you are a team that has World Series aspirations, you're here for a reason. The guys that got you to this spot have to be the guys that get you past this spot. You can't get here and then all of a sudden say, you know what? Cody Clements sounds like the guy that makes a lot of sense. You know, Weston Wilson, why not give him a chance? You know, there's a reason why Edmundo Sosa really is a bit player. You know, he's a guy that gives him a little energy, gives him a little spark. But in reality, Edmundo Sosa, you know, 111 his last week, 167 his last 15 days, 154 his last month of September. You know, he had a chance to play a lot in June. He played 64 games in June after playing 72 games in May. So now what does that tell you? 72 at-bats, excuse me. So he got some at-bats in May because Turner was out, and he hit 306. Well, then teams started to figure him out a little more, and he goes down to 219. There's a reason why these guys don't get extended playing time. And we have to stop trying to find ways to get lesser players more time and find ways to get the better players better. Back to what got us here. That's the key. You don't bail on the guys that got you here for lesser players. By the way, Weston Wilson, in the last 30 days, 206. Not good. More Sports Bash coming up, 97.3 ESPN.
The playoffs continue on ESPN Radio.
Ball in the air right field. This one back. This one's got a chance. That one is gone. So tosses the bat as he rounds first.
The Mets, up 2-1, look to finish off the Phillies and advance to the NLCS. Can the Phillies survive and force a decisive Game 5? Game 4, the Phillies and Mets. With first pitch at 5 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
It's Phillies Mets Game 4 tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 5 p.m.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or diabetes, you're at higher risk of being hospitalized from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's the time of year for killer deals. You've had your eye on some hot new wheels. We want to pay off your loan or lease and tell your old car to rust in peace.
Get your Matt Black Kia today. Buried in a loan or lease? Matt Black Kia wants to get you released and treat yourself to 0 down, 0 payments until next year, even 0% up to 72 months on every clearly marked new Matt Black Kia in stock. You won't need a costume to get a brand new Matt Black Kia Forte LXS under 20 grand. That's right, a brand new Kia, just $19,999 with any trade. That's less than most used vehicles.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
Bulletproof credit 24 EV9. and 1388 per thousand. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to MatPlatViaNJ.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 10/31/24. Matt Platt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
It's time to review the top 3 highlights of the day. I'm joined as always by my co-anchor Snoop.
Hey, what up, though?
Snoop, number 1 has to be getting the new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence at T-Mobile.
Yeah, you should hustle down to T-Mobile like a dog chasing a squirrel, chasing a nut.
Nice analogy, Snoop. Dogs do love to chase squirrels.
And squirrels love to chase those nuts.
On to highlight number 2, at T-Mobile, families can save 20% every month versus the other big guys.
That is very impressive. You know, y'all can take some of those savings and buy some Snoop merchandise.
That's exactly what I'm planning on doing with my savings, Snoop. Now, take it away, Snoop.
Head to T-Mobile.com and get the new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on them. Now drop that jingle.
24 monthly bill credits eligible trade-in on Go 5G Next. Well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 connection charge. Cancel entire account before receiving 24 bill credits and credit stop and balance on required finance agreement too. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See how you can save versus the other big guys at T-Mobile.com/switch. Apple Intelligence coming fall 2024.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
The time for holiday hosting is upon us, so make your second bathroom second to none with HomeDepot.com's best savings of the season. Right now, enjoy up to 40% off select online bath. Find the latest on-trend styles of vanities, faucets, showers, tubs, toilets, and more. All at prices that will let your budget relax right along with you and your beautifully renovated bath. Get up to 40% off select online bath plus free delivery at the Home Depot. Subject to availability, see HomeDepot.com/delivery for details.
Okay, everyone, what did you think of the chocolate bar?
It's too chewy.
It's kind of chalky.
Too much nougat.
I need to go brush my teeth.
Business is booming for Steph's small marketing research firm.
After all these focus groups, there's only one conclusion. I need more researchers.
And she's way too busy researching
Does this have peanuts?
to waste time researching resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at Villa Basilari in Buena for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, 3:52 on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, streaming live video on the X platform at Mike Gill Show. Use the hashtag SB Live. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Bohm, Real Muto, Stott, Weston Wilson, and Brandon Marsh. They are your starting lineup tonight for the Phillies. It is Ranger Suarez. You know, if Ranger Suarez was pitching in 2023 or 2022, you'd be excited. You got Ranger on the mound. The guy. You know what Rangers' numbers are in the playoffs for the Philadelphia Phillies? He's been one of the best pitchers in history in playoff situations. In this situation, Ranger Suarez, pitching for the Phillies in the playoffs, has a 1.62 postseason ERA in 7 career starts, 33 innings pitched, 22 hits, 6 runs, 32 strikeouts. Suarez has been about as good as you can get. Now, he has not been very good recently. I will say this. It's not like Suarez was great in any of his regular season finale appearances or anything over the years. He just all of a sudden out of nowhere became this guy that had ice water in his veins. So I don't know what to expect from him. I really don't. 609-403-0973. Mike, you mentioned earlier Tatis would prefer. Would you try to sign 25-year-old Soto in free agency? Again, have another long contract on your payroll. You know, that Soto stuff has been out there. I don't want to think about the offseason quite yet. I know that Soto brings fear, there's no question. But you know what? He was in San Diego and failed when he was the guy there. He's in New York right now, and they ain't. Their series is tied 2-2. Let's see what happens in these playoffs before we start thinking about what happens next. What happens next for the Eagles is they got 3 key guys back on the floor, or back on the field, I should say. I'm looking at a Sixer highlight. 609-403-0973. It's the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and streaming live video on the X platform at Mike Gill Show. This hour has been brought to you by our friends at Broadley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles host the Cleveland Browns in Week 6 of the 2024 season this Sunday.
Hit as he fires the football, and it is intercepted! It is intercepted by Reed Blankenship!
Listen to all the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick with pregame coverage starting at noon and kickoff at 1 p.m. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles, 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at Villa Basilari in Buena for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
Seizethedeal.com.
The holidays are here, and the Home Depot has everything you need to stay connected with smart home upgrades. Whether you're keeping an eye out for the big guy or keeping an eye on your family, the Home Depot has you covered with great tech, like the Ring Indoor Camera 2-pack with advanced motion detection, two-way talk, and color night vision. Plus, get your smart home devices the smart way with free delivery. Get holiday ready with seasonal savings happening now at the Home Depot. Subject to availability, see homedepot.com/delivery for details.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $200 in bonus bets when they bet $5. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bet. And see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in New Jersey. Terms and conditions apply.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or diabetes, you're at higher risk of being hospitalized from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
You'll hear the radio ad IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-488-2594. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-488-2594. That's 800-488-2594. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. Have you checked out the most loved Indian restaurant in South Jersey? The Nizam's Indian Restaurant on Route 40 in Egg Harbor Township is ready to serve you delicious Indian dishes. NJ.com ranked them as the #2 best restaurant in all of New Jersey. And this just in. It's their Eagles football special. Your table receives free tandoori, spicy chicken wings if the Eagles win for dine-in customers only. Visit thenizams.com for more information.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
Just hungry to bring back another Lombardi to Philly. The fans deserve it. Our team deserves it. Culture begs for it.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast is here, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Just search Inside the Birds on YouTube to get all their YouTube content as well. This hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Jersey Cow, a great place for the family to hang out and eat ice cream. Ice cream is a year-round thing at Jersey Cow, open every day from noon to 10 at the Northfield and Brigantine locations. All right, let's bring Jeff Mosher in from the Inside the Birds podcast. For those of you watching the live video stream, there is Jeff Mosher. Holy mackerel, Mosher is in the house. There he is. What's going on, Mosher? The Phillies are on the brink of elimination. The Eagles kind of hanging under the radar right now, but they got a lot of news over at the Novinger Complex.
Oh, yeah, you got players getting released. You got players coming off the getting into the 21-day window. You got players coming back from injury. It's quite the bye week return for the Eagles. And, hopefully the Eagles, I think you and I were making this joke the other day. They couldn't hurt you last weekend, right? They could not hurt you along with the Phillies. Now, this week, man, they can really help you, but they sure could hurt you if they don't win this game. That would really hurt.
All right, well, let's look at some of the things that happened. Lane Johnson and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith back. It looked like Smith has not been cleared yet, but feeling better that those three guys should be out there this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to see Devontae Smith cleared for just to know that he's doing okay and doing well and can contribute to the offense. We'll see as the week progresses. It's been almost 3 weeks, not exactly, but almost. So that's normally for concussions a time where, you don't see guys start to miss more. So we'll see how he is. But, as long as he's back, when he does get back, I think the Eagles can be happy to be at full strength against a Browns defense that it's not. I know it probably, you look at it statistically and you're like, they haven't played very well. But I think that's sort of the symbiotic relationship of how bad their offense has been, because there is some talent on this Browns defense, although it's a little banged up.
Yeah, one thing is obviously you get those two weapons back, Lane Johnson, the offensive line. The offense should be in a much better situation, you feel like, here. Let's go over to the defensive side. We talked about the 21-day window. What's your thoughts on Sidney Brown? Does he help this defense at all, or is this just more and more depth?
I think he can. I just don't know how yet. A good athlete, dynamic player, does some things well, not somebody you want maybe in coverage, but somebody who'd like to come into the box and, hit somebody, make a tackle. And as we've seen, tackling at the safety level has not been great for the Eagles. He can help you on special teams while they work him. I'm curious to see if he gets activated this week. They do have an open roster spot. So curious to see if he gets the activation. If he does, I imagine his help would come more on special teams for the first week. I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, he can definitely help because he's another body. He's young, he's dynamic, and he is known for being able to tackle.
Yeah, speaking of tackling, one guy that didn't get a chance to tackle was Devin White. Let's get your take on that whole situation. They sign him. They brought him in for a decent amount of money. I guess kind of hey, we'll throw a shot. This is what they've done. This is who they've been, right? They've been a team that has taken a high drafted guy that flamed out somewhere else, and they took a shot on him. That was their blueprint for the Super Bowl team. Patrick Robinson, Chris Long, and it worked out for them. It has not really worked out for them since, and this is just another in the long line of, hey, let's get a first-round pick that didn't play well for you, but let's take them here.
Yeah. Now, money doesn't matter to me. It sort of matters to me, even though it's a big – I mean, listen, you sign this guy for almost $5 million, you're going to make almost that, and that's money just flushed down the toilet. Somebody say you could use it. You could have used it to do this, that, and the other. If the Eagles wanted money, they can create money. That's really not the issue to me. The issue to me is that it represents maybe a lack of either good scouting and good process. And you always want everything to be done with a good process. Not everybody has to work, but you want it to make sense. And for 2 straight years, the Eagles have signed some guys from other teams that didn't necessarily play in their scheme or fit their scheme. And the Eagles were hoping that it would work. And it didn't work. Terrell Edmonds at safety last year did not work. And he had not played in a Fangio-style scheme in Pittsburgh. And he did not live up to what he was supposed to be in Pittsburgh when they drafted in the first round. And the same thing with Devin White. Devin White was benched last year. Devin White was a player who was known as being a little reckless, a little bit of a freelancer. And Vic Fangio is a guy who doesn't really tolerate that from his linebacker level. And that's clearly one of the reasons he didn't make the starting lineup for this team. And so it puts the Eagles in a strange bind. And, like I said, you want to know that there's a good cohesion there between your coaching, their philosophy, your scouting, their philosophy, and that the general manager is supervising this and believes that there's a symmetry there. Why you're signing guys all of a sudden who don't fit what you do, or you're trying to rekindle a flame that wasn't there for a while, is alarming to me, because now it's not just one guy, it's 2 guys. We can point to a couple of free agent signings on both sides of the ball. The trade for Jahan Dotson, which doesn't look good now, to say, hey, wait a minute. Some signings you could say, all right, that just didn't work out. But when you start to see a pattern of signings that aren't working out, when you know that was the reason why you went to and won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, it raises some flags.
Yeah, you take a look at all the different things here. Devin White, you brought him in. And it just hasn't worked out to the point where you release him and just let him kind of go on his way. So now what's this linebacking core? Does this say, hey, no, we're happy with Dean and Bond? Or is this more, hey, we weren't going to use White even if one of those guys got hurt. Someone else has, because the thought, I guess, was he doesn't play special teams, so he's not active on game day. But if Dean got hurt, White would be the next guy. I guess this message is Trotter and or Van Sumeren or Oren Burks have also passed over him.
Yeah, and that happened not just recently, Mike. White was never going to be the next guy. That was made pretty abundantly clear when they named Nakobe Dean the starter, and then they kept 5 inside linebackers when you really only play 2 at a time. And then when they signed Oren Burks off the practice squad as a 6th inside linebacker and a 2nd veteran inside linebacker from without, he came over from the 49ers like White came over from the Bucs. That to me was the surest sign that you would never see. We said this on the podcast, that you would never see Devin White take the field for the Eagles. So I think Nick Sirianni said today that the next man up would be Jeremiah Trotter Jr., which is interesting. You would think that Burks, with his experience and playing for the 49ers and his size, 6'3", big guy, physical guy. He showed you when he played that preseason finale. He didn't need to play that preseason finale. He looked like a guy who should not have been playing in that game. He was good enough. So I would have thought he might be next guy up, but I get it. Jeremiah Trotter did have a very good preseason, and he does have good linebacker instincts. The bottom line of it all, Mike, and people get mad at us for saying this, but listen, we just report what we're told, right? it's been described to me by more than one person around the league who looks at the Eagles linebackers as they're a collection of backup linebackers. They're all basically backup linebackers. When you start to go look around the league and compare other teams that have stronger linebacking units, obviously they're starters for the Eagles, but in the eyes of GMs and personnel people around the league, they may not be starters for a whole bunch of teams.
Yeah, obviously that's a position. And look, I don't know, would you surmise, yes, they're not the greatest group, but if they hurt this defense, would you look at them and say, like Nate Geary a couple of years ago, teams just said, where's 47? Let's go after that guy. He was a detriment to the lineup. Is this group right now, are they so bad that they're a problem on this defense?
No, Nate Geary was a detriment. He shouldn't have been a backup. He shouldn't have been a starter. He shouldn't have been a sub linebacker. He was not good enough to play football in the league. I don't think he's really played since leaving the Eagles. He may have bounced around to a team here and there, but these guys, I think, will be listen, I think what you've seen in the first 4 weeks is what you'll see. You're going to see some games depending on the matchup, right, they're going to look pretty good, like Bourne did in week 1 against the Packers. And then there's going to be some schemes and offensive lines and some personnel that they struggle against, like you saw against the Falcons, right, in week 2. Played better against the Saints, clearly, in week 3, but then not so great week 4 against the Bucs. So, I guess that's my way of saying when you face a lot of teams that can pass and throw the ball over the middle, probably not going to look so good. When you face teams that can run around the edges, they may struggle there. When you face teams that are going to try to pound you up the middle, might be all right there.
Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. Yeah, no doubt about it. It's an up and down. And it's like this defense. I want to get your opinion more on this. Is this defense, to win games in this league, that for them, they're going to have to score 29, 30 points a game for the most part. Now, there are going to be weeks where their defense has a really good game plan. They execute it well. And like the Saints game, where they play really well. But the problem, Jeff, with this defense, as I see it, and see if you agree, is without the pass rush, they're just going to lack the consistency to be able to keep teams in that 17 to 14 point range over the long haul. So for this team to win, it's going to have to be 28-24, 35-28. That's who they feel like.
Yeah. Yes. Now, maybe they can do some things differently, and we'll see coming out of the break, Mike.
Do you think this defense, in your mind, with the personnel they have, looks or is a different defense in week 14 than it is in week 4? Or do you think they just don't have the consistency to really, the ceiling of growth, is it there or just not really?
No, I think there's enough young players for growth to be there. I mean, Zach Bourne, I think, can continue to grow in the role. We talked about week 2, right, when they played the Falcons, and you saw the right guard for the Falcons, the Pro Bowl right guard, whose name is escaping me now, Lidstrom, constantly cutting him on the backside of a wide zone run and getting him on his knees and decleating him, right? And he'll know next time around, not necessarily facing the Falcons, but teams that run that to those wide zones to look for that, right? So there's growth with ability with him, with Nakobe Dean, maybe if Trotter gets on the field. I think there's growth ability, obviously, with Jalen Carter, with Quinyon Mitchell, with Reed Blankenship, with Cooper DeJean. There's more young guys on this defense than older guys, Moro Ajomo. So there certainly is more growth capacity. I do think they'll look differently in week 14, but they clearly have to. I don't think the issue is just that they have to grow. They have to schematically do different things as well. And that might start with playing a little bit more up coverage or press coverage to give that pass rush an extra half a second or so to get to the quarterback. And then, of course, also stopping the run to put the offense in less favorable down and distance scenarios.
Last year there were a couple trades, Chase Young to San Francisco, and that's one of those deals. Wow, San Francisco added Chase Young? I mean, whoa, he's gone already. They already said that was a miss. Montez Sweat went to Chicago. That's kind of worked out. The Eagles tried a couple of years ago where they made a trade. It seems to get pass rush, this team is going to have to hope that there's somebody out there that's Washington and says, we're waving the white flag on this season. That, to me, is about the only way they find or manufacture pass rush outside, Jeff, that this Huff thing totally does a 180. And the other part of the 180 to turn into a full 360 is that Nolan Smith figures it out.
I think that's a big part of it. And listen, I think with Nolan Smith, if you just put him outside the right tackle and say rush the quarterback and you'll figure it out by week 14, you're going to be sadly mistaken. There's a clear strength disadvantage. We've seen Bijan Robinson plant him on his ass. We saw in the last game, Cade Otton plant him on his ass, right? So I can say that on, right? That's an okay word, right?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. All right. I'm really trying to, get some good effect here, like a good radio guy would do. So lining him up and saying you'll get better by getting knocked on your ass every game is not going to work. So, but we know he's athletic. We know he's fast. We know he can move. So now it's okay. Can we move him around? Can we line him up over the A gaps, right? Like maybe what Dan Quinn did with Micah Parsons when he was in Dallas. Can we stunt him? Can we twist him? Can we get 6 guys up at scrimmage, drop 2, rush 2? He's one of the rushers that's unaccounted for, right? And gets a free ride or helps somebody else get a free ride. That's why I say like this defense has a lot of room to grow because it's young, but it's also going to need schematic tweaks to get better.
All right. There was a report, Jeremy Fowler, suggesting that they're going to make the change to Cooper DeJean. He didn't say it was definitely happening, but one of the parts of the report, forget the Cooper thing, and you can comment on that because Nick kind of didn't want to clarify it, but it looked like Cooper was in that spot today. But one of the parts of the report that I thought was interesting was that he said there were other defensive, situations that were discussed. And I'm wondering, in your mind, is there any other spot on this defensive line in configuration that they could even consider making changes? I could get the wording for you if you didn't see it.
No, I think I heard him say it. I've been trying to think about what too, like, moving Maddox to safety. I don't know how when you're struggling to tackle and make plays,
you move him to safety to replace. Blankenship's one guy who has a couple picks. I mean, are you going to really already?
No, I wouldn't. In fact, I would worry about Maddox being on the chopping block to make room for Sidney Brown once they activate Sidney. Sidney could be one of those people who you start to see in a big nickel package more. I'm not obviously if Trotter's the next man up over Burks, maybe there are some dime sets where they want to get him on the field for that more. I don't know, Mike. I do.
By the way, he said he went on to say that multiple changes were discussed on the defensive side of the ball, but nothing has been reported at this time. The one guy was Cooper DeJean taking over at nickel for veteran Devontae Maddox.
Yeah. I mean, listen, CJ Gardner-Johnson's been really disappointing, but for the money you paid him, you're not yanking him out of the starting lineup. I wonder if the changes can be interpreted as scheme changes, not necessarily personnel changes.
Right. Like we paid Bryce Huff $51 million and you're playing him incorrectly, something to that effect.
Perhaps, I mean, they did try to get him in some wide 9 looks recently. So that's where he kind of predominantly played with the Jets. Maybe Jalix Hunt was in the conversation. We'll see. Moro Ojomo getting some time in the 4-man rush next to Jalen Carter.
Well, this, Coach. Like, fans get excited about the young players, right? Nolan Smith was the guy we were excited about, right? People were excited about Nolan Smith. He didn't get a lot of time last year. So in training camp, he became the guy. Oh, they got a first-round pick. They're going to let him play. He was a first-round guy. He's got to be good. Jalix Hunt is a complete project, no?
Theoretically, he was, Mike. And I try not to make anything of training camp to a fault, probably, and preseason. But there were, Andrew DeCecco wrote about this a lot. And Andrew observed that he didn't look like he was confused by doing some of the back end things that Vic Fangio does. Remember, he started his career off at Cornell, so he's pretty bright. And he started off as a safety, so he probably has a better understanding of spatial awareness, coverage, concepts like that, and he could probably tackle a little bit too, right? So he didn't look in the preseason games when I watched like a guy who didn't have a clue. When you talk about edge rushers, you talk about, do they have a plan? Do they have a plan? And this is why Devin White, when people said, well, why couldn't they have just tried him as an edge rusher because he had 9 sacks with the Bucs? People don't understand that when you're an inside linebacker in a Todd Bowles defense, you're generally rushing the A gaps. You're a free ride a lot of times because Todd breaks down protection schemes. And all you have to do is beat maybe a running back or a tight end kept in the block. being an edge rusher, you have to understand hand usage. You have to understand foot chop. You have to understand speed to power. You have to know how to bull rush, right? That is the work of a edge rusher, not an inside linebacker who gets 8 or 9 sacks because of protection breakdown. So that's why Devin White was never used as an edge rusher, and it never made sense to try to use him full-time that way or part-time that way. But Jalix Hunt looked like someone who at least had a plan for what he wanted to do. So maybe there's opportunities here to get him on the field and see if that translates.
All right, I'm not anti. I mean, if you want to give me a shot and say, hey, go out there and see what you got, kid, I have no problem in a position right now. You know, this is a different situation. I don't have anybody that has a track record, really. Nobody's out there like, hey, you've shown me you can do it, so I'm going to stick with you. You know, this is like the Phillies offense. I got a bunch of guys out there. You know, we get this all the time. Hey, why don't you give Cody Clemens a shot? Or why don't you give this guy a shot? Well, you know, the track record suggests this guy is slumping more than he stinks.
Right.
The Eagles guys aren't really slumping more than they stink. Right now, they stink first.
Yeah.
They stink first before they've slumped. So
you have to earn a slump, right? You have to have the opposite of a slump. You have to have a streak to be in a slump.
Yeah. Like if at one point for 6 months of the year I hit 280 and then the last month of the year I hit 160, well, somewhere it's going to start balancing back out for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to be like crazy. But so far, Nolan Smith, I said he's not even getting to the point where he can offer the quarterback a tissue. He can't even get that close to him. Right. So I have no problem if they say, hey, let's get this young kid and see if he has any spark to the defense that, you know, quite frankly, needs something. We'll see it all unfold. I know this is your last time on this week for Football at 4. Give me a thought on, you know, styles make fights. Cleveland's really struggled, but, you know, they do blitz, oddly enough. Jim Schwartz's D. Blitz is the third most out of all defenses in the NFL. That was a surprising number that I saw.
Don't you kind of dig that? I always dig when veteran guys in the league, whether it's offense or like Andy Reid, great example, you know, goes to Kansas City, you know, didn't even take much of time off, a year, but he reinvented himself there very, very quickly. I mean, he wound up trading for Alex Smith. If most people remember, he hired a coach, Chris Alt, who coached, I believe, at Nevada when Kaepernick was there, and he started implementing the pistol. And all of a sudden, Andy has sort of reinvented his offensive schemes and using more motion and he's not that old stale West Coast offense guy. And here's Jim Schwartz, who's been doing it one way for quite a long time. And that got, as you know, Mike, the fans would complain. Jim Schwartz doesn't blitz, runs the same wide 9, cover 1, cover 3. You just know it's coming. And once you get a few guys hurt and you're not as powerful, then you can pick apart the defense. And there were times the fans were right about that. I kind of get a kick out of Jim Schwartz reinventing himself. I feel bad that the offense has been so bad for him that he can't really relish the fact that he's done some different things. But it is a surprising thing to see Jim Schwartz, number 3 in the league in blitzing right now.
I want to ask you this. Robert Saleh yesterday, out of the clear blue sky, whacked. If they lost this game to the Browns, any thought that Nick could be in some trouble in season?
Man, that's a hard question. I could have seen it with Saleh only because Woody Johnson's sort of an impetuous owner, right? And, you never rule anything out. Plus, Woody never hired Robert Saleh. His son did when Woody was out ambassadoring in England in the Trump administration. So that one didn't shock me. Jeffrey has not fired a coach this early. I mean, the earliest was Chip Kelly with a couple of games left, right?
Yeah, I think one game left.
Yeah, at 2-3, I don't think he fired. I mean, if they lose 45-0, maybe we all have to have a conversation, right? Like if they really go out there and crap the bed in a way that you just could not fathom against this horrible Browns team, perhaps because you can just never rule out the whole first time for anything thing. But I really think that no, I don't think just a regular loss would do that.
Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. And, of course, you can check that out on all podcasting platforms. Football at 4 rolls on tomorrow with Andrew DeCecco. Adam Kaplan's here on Friday. Mosher's back on Monday when hopefully the Eagles give us something fun because the Phillies might not.
Don't say that, please.
Enjoy the game.
Thanks.
All right, Jeff Mosher, everybody, from the Inside the Birds podcast, of course, right here for Football at 4 on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, streaming live video on the X platform, at Mike Gill Show, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. Use the hashtag SB Live. I tell you all the time, if lose this game, the pressure on the Eagles will be intense. This hour brought to you by Jersey Cow, a great place for you and the family to eat ice cream. Ice cream's a year-round thing at Jersey Cow. Northfield Brigantine, open noon to 10 every day. Could it be an omen? Could it be an omen? Stick around. I'll explain during the Nuggets with Nicky Earnshaw. Next, Nick Nuggets are on the way. Nicky Nosebleeds probably starting to say, man, I really try to listen to that Mike Gill. That's next. This is the Sports Bash. The Omen. The Omen. Stick around. You can't believe this. It's next.
The playoffs continue. Game 4 of the Nets. It's Phillies Nets. Game 4 on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 5 p.m.
Thousands at MapLot Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to MapLotKiaNJ.com for more details. That's MapLotKiaNJ.com.
It's gotta be a MapLot Kia. Fall savings at the Home Depot. You can get up to $1,600 off select appliances from top brands like Samsung. Ranked number 1 in customer satisfaction. Wash and dry in one cycle with the Samsung Ultra Capacity all-in-one washer dryer combo from the Home Depot. Get laundry day done faster, running a super speed load in 98 minutes. Right now, save up to $1,600 on financing on select appliances with fall savings. How do it? Get more done.
Better than one win? 3 wins. With Street Savings, you keep your own phone, get one line for only $25 a month with a little unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit StraightTalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. For less dollars, more sense. Street Savings plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months active service. Core forensic eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop. This isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping you all connected. That is, they can handle the pressure. So is it possible to get business internet you can really count on? It is. 99.9% network reliability from Comcast Business. It's like this neat little bow. Really time to call. Reliable internet for your business. It's not just possible. It's happening. Comcast Business. Powering possibility.
Switch to Comcast Business and get started with fast, reliable internet for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Or ask about our 5-year price lock guarantee on qualifying internet bundles. Don't wait. Call or go online today. Install 2224. To apply. Equal bill and auto pay required. 150 megabits per second internet customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Because they stands tall atop a sustainable flooring company.
It's renewable and moisture resistant, so we have some green options. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed clothes.
But fueled by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need it.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast every day. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese sauce, and sausage or pork. So the first bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Second bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. And the third bite, you get the idea. Awesome breakfast burritos, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. The Phillies and Mets play Game 4 tonight at Citi Field as Philadelphia faces elimination after losing Game 3 on Tuesday 7-4. Nick Castellanos and Bryce Harper drove in runs in the loss, but both of those came in the 8th inning after New York was up 6-0. Ranger Suarez will start tonight for Philadelphia. Jose Quintana will go for the Mets to get on the action right here on ESPN 97.3. The Eagles hosting the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. Philadelphia returning from their bye week at 2-2 after a Week 4 loss to Tampa Bay. Cleveland at 1-4. Saquon Barkley third in the league in yards on the ground. ESPN 97.3 will have that game for you on Sunday. NHL the Flyers open the regular season Friday night, starting in Vancouver, where we'll take on the Canucks. Flyers open up with 4 straight games on the road. It stops in Calgary, Edmonton, and Seattle. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Earn entries for your chance to be one of the lucky winners of a complete his or hers YSL collection now to October 25th. Show your timeless sophistication during the YSL collection drawing. Only at Wed Oct. Must be 21 or older. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Tomorrow will be about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than today, with a chilly northwesterly breeze kicking in tonight. Skies will stay mainly clear overnight. We'll see a low of 48, and tomorrow's high only 63. Mostly sunny and breezy for your Thursday. Friday morning could be some patchy frost in the Pinelands. Otherwise sunny and pleasant to close out the work week. High improves to 68. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
New Jersey might be small, but there's a lot of wow packed into this little state. So what are you waiting for? Wow your way through NJ. Through sculpture gardens, garden gardens, and loop-de-loops. New Jersey, it's one wow after another after another. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And it just keeps getting better.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, 4:30 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. About 30 minutes from first pitch. We had Doug Glanville on earlier. He'll be on the call on 97.3 ESPN. The brink of elimination. For Sports Bash. Mickey Earnshaw is here with Nick's Nuggets. And, of course, the Nuggets are brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at the Gallery Bar Booking Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Now, I don't know if there's an omen there here, but I found a potential omen. I saw an omen that, of all people, you might be the most excited by. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I've been waiting since you went to commercial break. I'm like on my toes ready for this one.
Here you go. Tomorrow night at the Fillmore in Philadelphia, Callum Scott is performing.
This might be the best omen that we could have ever asked for. That means Dancing on My Own needs to come back, right? They better be listening all the batting practice.
Is that what this postseason has lacked? Dancing on My Own.
Yeah, I mean, the vibes have been an atrocity, right? This team's built on vibes. You know, that was the whole thing with this team. It's all about the vibes. It's been awful to start.
You were at game 2, right?
Mm-hmm, I was.
So when the game was over, did they play any music on the way out of the stadium, anything like that?
They played High Hopes like they normally do after every single Phillies win, but I didn't hear any Dancing on My Own. That's the problem. You know, it hasn't been played. You know, this is the Phillies era. This Phillies era, this is their song. Maybe you bring it back a little bit. He's going to be in town tomorrow. That means maybe game 5 on the way. He's going to get it warmed up in the city, Mike.
There you go. Tomorrow night, playing at the Fillmore.
Look at you being an optimist with this team. I love to see it.
Hey, I'm just trying to find a way for people to find one of those, hey, like ominous signs. This one to me is an omen. It's an omen. You got Callum Scott playing, dancing on my own tomorrow. Now, if it was tonight, would you feel better? Or Friday night, would you feel better? Or Saturday? Or tomorrow, it's an off day, or potentially a clean out your locker day. I mean, it's a little weird spot here, but there you go. I found that just for you.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect time for it. Having it on Thursday, you hopefully win game 4 here. Then you go into game 5. Callum Scott has dancing on my own. You know, the videos will be spiraling around social media, so you'll see that. But I don't know, did you see Sabrina Carpenter? Are you familiar with her work? She is a big pop star right now. She wore a Phillies jersey last night during her concert in Philadelphia. So everyone's trying to get on the Phillies train right here to give them a little bit of support, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Not familiar, but hopefully she brings a little luck.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. I'm going to get a little negative for a couple of minutes here because, that's all we've had with this series so far, being down 2-1, the Phillies are. We got to start with a missed opportunity by Dave Dombrowski with nugget number 1. And we got to talk about Austin Hayes. The offense has struggled, Mike. Clearly in games 1 and 3, pretty much nowhere to be found. Game 2, they came alive, but so far in this series, it has been a dud, to say the least. And Austin Hayes has been part of that dud. A guy who's batted .256 in 22 games, has a .275 OBP since he came over from the Baltimore Orioles at the trade deadline. And I tweeted out and got a lot of flack, and some people agreed with me on the Twitter X platform last night. They missed an opportunity to go get a Brent Rooker, a Jazz Chisholm, a Randy Arozarena, a much more competent bat than a 9-hole hitter in Austin Hayes, who has 3 strikeouts in 4 at-bats during this series. And one little stat for you, David Dahl has more RBIs than Austin Hayes this season as a Philadelphia Philly. That was a dud and a missed opportunity once again by Dave Dombrowski to go out and get another bat, because we've seen the bats fall apart late in the postseason, earlier in the postseason this year. Missed opportunity by the front office. That is very frustrating if you're a Phillies fan.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, I said, like, hindsight, you could have gone back and got Rooker. I don't know what it would have cost you. If you had to do
Who
Painter,
cares?
Would you have done Painter?
I would have considered it. The guy's been hurt, right? Like, Painter, you don't know what you're going to get.
Well,
I would have considered it.
By the way, he's pitching Saturday in
Yes.
in the Arizona Fall League. Considering it and doing it are two different things. If the trade on the table was Andrew Painter for Rooker, who's a free agent at the end of the year, are you definitively doing that deal or not?
Are you trying to win a World Series this year? Then yes, you have to give up to get, right. And
and that's an answer. That's a definitive answer. You would have traded Andrew Painter to get him.
Yes.
I think that's the one guy in my organization. Aiden Miller.
Yeah, I would have traded somebody. If you're going to win a World Series this year, you're going to have to give up stuff to get something. They didn't give up anything for Austin Hayes. He was a dud, and they claim that was a guy they've had their eyes on for 2 years. He has been nothing for this team. I know he had the injury. I'm glad he's much better. It was the kidney infection. I'm glad he's feeling better with that. It's no joke. But he has not contributed to this team the way a Brent Rooker would have. Jazz Chisholm's been great for the New York Yankees. I know he's a left-handed bat, but he even hit a few home runs in July against the Phillies. He's been fantastic. Arozarena could have been giving you a little something too. They could have went out and got much better bat. They didn't do it last year. They got Rodolfo Castro, who went down to the minor leagues. I mean, this is a bad job by the front office to not go out and get another bat that can impact the lineup. Rooker would have impacted this lineup.
Big time. I agree. Rooker's the one guy that I think made the most sense. He was the biggest fit that you had. He was the guy that was the right-handed bat that he could have hit in the 4-hole. Then Castellanos could have hit 5. You know, this team you're looking at, one night you're hitting Stott in the 5-hole. The next night he's not even in the lineup. So what does that tell you about where this team is? Look, I told you all the way through. I didn't look at this team as the favorite because I just don't trust the offense. And here we are again. Listen, you've seen it before. You're seeing it again. When the pitching gets a little tougher, these at-bats and these style of guys that we saw in 2022 and 2023, they are now echoing it again in 2024. These are veteran players. They're not changing at this stage of their career. This is who they are. Yes, they get hot at times, and they can carry you. Castellanos, Harper, they've all had major big hits. But when push comes to shove, can you do it for 3 weeks? That's what it takes in October. That's what Red October is, the whole month, not just one series or 2 series. It's all the series. And this offense, sadly, I hate it, but it's not good enough. And that's where we are.
It's not over yet. I'm not going to go there yet. It's not over yet. It could still come back. There could be some magic. The good omen, Mike, that you started the segment with, Callum Scott, hopefully can bring a little positivity to this team. But it's so far, it's been all negative. And we got to talk about 2 of these players that have really been frustrating, Mike. And nugget number 2, Alec Boehm and JT Realmuto. Alec Boehm's approach, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. It's been ridiculous. The fact he's going up there and swinging at the first pitch, it feels like every single at bat. He's not seen any pitches. He seems just totally lost at the dish. So according to MLB.com's Paul Casella, he has seen 19 pitches in 10 at bats during this postseason, which is an average of 1.9 pitches per at bat. It's the fewest since they've tracked it since 1988. In the postseason. I mean, that's ridiculous. The fact his approach has dropped off that dramatically for him to be that aggressive, it's pretty crazy.
I agree. Listen, Boehm has been terrible. He was bad in September. I don't know how much that had to do with the hand, but he's been terrible. Now, last night he did rip a ball to right center field, and then he's so slow, he gets thrown out at second base. But he did hit a ball the other way. It's a good sign. You're hoping that maybe he comes out of it, but I don't know what's wrong with him. They showed him on the bench. He was mouthing something. I don't know what he was talking about this time. He's just been bad. And listen, this is part of the problem. You are here in part because Boehm was so good. And now you're in the brink of elimination because Boehm has been so bad. But this is all these guys. You mentioned JT. He's another guy. I got to be honest. I hated the contract when they gave that contract to him. Oh, best catcher in baseball. He is. But he's a declining offensive player at a position that declines rapidly. And he's just a back end of the lineup hitter. He's a 7 guy. You're lucky you're a good team. He's hitting 8th. He's a 240 hitter with 15 home runs. It's not good enough for what he gets paid, man. And he has not had a big hit. I can't remember the last time that Realmuto came up and had an impactful swing at a bat that you're like, hey, there's Realmuto. It's bad strikeouts. It's pop-ups. They're bad at bats. Stott and Marsh back in the lineup tonight. Look, these guys were out of the lineup because they simply were not good enough against lefties. Now they're back out there. They're throwing the analytics out the window, which I don't have a problem with. Fine, you're going with your best guys, but part of the problem is your best guys are only your best guys against right-handed pitching, but you have no alternatives for them against left-handed pitching. So now you're stuck going back to these guys who haven't faced lefties. Hey, look, this is part of the problems I have with this team and why I didn't think they were going to win a World Series. And sadly, right now, today, hopefully 20 minutes from now, things change. But that's why I felt this way the whole way. I can't trust Marsh against lefties. I can't trust Stott against lefties. You neutralize Schwarber and Harper to some extent. They hit lefties throughout the season, but not when you're in the playoffs. You are facing tough lefties every night. You're not facing some donkey who comes in there pitching for the Reds on the 4th starter. You're facing the best lefties in the league every night. And that at bat by Harper last night was unacceptable. Unacceptable. It was so bad and squeezed all the momentum out of that game. You have first and second with nobody out. And here comes Bryce Harper. It almost looked like he went up there before the at-bat started and said, I'm swinging at the first 3 pitches no matter what. After the guy just threw 8 balls at 9 pitches. Awful approach. Awful at bat for Bryce Harper. So, hey, this is where we are. I hope it all kind of comes clicking. But here's what I'll say. In 2022, this team was a fun-loving crew that no one expected anything from. Last year, fun-loving crew that no one expected everything from until they got to the NLCS. And then they were the favorite, and they didn't handle that so well. And in this series here, they were the favorite, and they ain't handling it so well.
Yeah, they are now the hunted instead of the hunter. And they were better as the hunter instead of the hunted. That's where they're at now. And you go back, you bring up the Bryce Harper thing last night. They lost that game because of that at bat. That was a massive momentum swing in the ball game in the 6th inning that he's just going up there free swinging, just hacking away at everything coming at him. You have first and second. You have the heart of your order coming up, and you're able to get the momentum back on your side, and you're going up there and just hacking at everything. I'm sorry. He needs to be criticized for that. I mean, he needs to be like we criticize other athletes in this town. I know we love Bryce Harper. I know he loves the city of Philadelphia and loves being here, and it's all kumbaya, but he needs real criticism for that. And no one really wants to say it that much. I mean, they don't want to criticize the guy. That was an awful at bat that changed the momentum of the game. You had Castellanos then line out, double play, Schwarber gets doubled up at second. That was a game-changing moment. And in the postseason, those are the types of moments that can swing you to having a win or a loss. And that was a big moment from Harper that he did not show up for. I know he's shown up before, but that's a spot where you got to see more pitches, similar to Alec Boehm. And I have a stat for you, Mike. According to Robert Orr of Baseball Perspective, during the regular season, the Phillies chased 29% of fastballs, okay? They went out of the zone chasing 29%. They have nearly doubled it. It's now 44% during this series against the Mets. They have chased out of the zone at fastballs. I mean, that just shows you the approach that they're going up there with.
Yeah, they're pressing. Thompson said it last night. I think, the first 3 batters of the game all had an exit velocity for whatever the hell you want to do with that stat. It did them no good because they went 0 for 3. But, we hit the ball hard at people. All their exit velocities were over 106.
Yes.
All 3 of them. Nothing to show for it. So they're hitting the ball hard. They're hitting it at people. I think as the game is going on and they get down, and now it's 2-0, and they just keep pressing and pressing and pressing harder and harder, and that's the end result. I mean, we've seen it so many times with this crew that when times get tough and they're down, they have these come from behind moments, and it's fun. But it's a 7-game or a 5-game series. You got to be able to be more consistent. You can't score 7 one night and nothing the next, and 7 one night and 1 the next. You got to be able to get where's the number I had written down here? The Mets have 6 2-out RBI. There you go.
That's it right there. I mean,
there were 3 moments in the game last night that I think were big. 1, 3rd inning, it's 1-0. Sosa gets hit to lead the inning off. The next batter is Rojas. He attempts to bunt. He pulls it back. And then after that, he doesn't lay the bunt down. He ends up getting out. I think he struck out. I don't remember if he struck out or got out, but he didn't advance Sosa to second. Well, Sosa is on first base. If you bunt him over, there's 1 out. Schwarber strikes out. That's 2 outs, but you have a runner on second. Turner hits a single. Well, guess what? You hit a single with 2 outs. Sosa comes around and scores. Now the score is 1-1. So that was a missed opportunity for not utilizing Rojas for what he can actually help you with. He can't help you with much, but he can get the bunt down and get the damn guy over. That's what he should be doing in that spot. That's number 1. The 6-inning situation, disaster. And then, look, Nola is in the game. They don't take him out. He walks up Alonso. They bring in Kerkering. First batter Kerkering faces, he gets a ground ball to second base, and Sosa bobbles it. That's probably 4-2-3 double play, and then the next guy hits a fly ball to left field, and you're out of that inning, and the score is still 2-0. That changes the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's those little moments in the postseason matter, and they come back to bite you in the end, and that's how you lose ball games the postseason. It's like it's not the middle of May, it's not a J month, it's not June or July, and you need to make those plays because they will come back later in the ball game and they will bite you, and you will lose games that way. And that happened to the Phillies last night. Those little things that mean so much in the postseason, they are amplified during this time in the big moments. So missed opportunities in game 3. But Mike, we move along to game 4. We're only a couple minutes away from this game getting rolling. Game 4 in New York at Citi Field. Ranger Suarez, Nugget number 3. He's on the mound for the Phillies today. I don't know how much I love having Ranger in this spot. I hope he's old school Ranger. 9 career postseason appearances, 3-1 with a 1.62 ERA. Rob Thompson said in the last inter-squad game that he pitched in, his velocity was back up. So maybe Ranger's starting to feel like himself again, Mike. I would have maybe liked to seen Wheeler on short rest because remember, you don't have to worry about game 5 or the NLCS right now and who's pitching. You got to get there first. You got to win this game. It's all hands on deck. They might have Christopher Sanchez coming out of the bullpen tonight, Mike. So If you could get 5, 6 out of Ranger, then get an inning or 2 out of Sanchez, you're probably in a good spot. But you hopefully don't have to use Wheeler in this game, so you can have him for a game 5. But, I mean, it's all hands on deck here.
Yeah, and the short rest Wheeler thing, that will be something that goes back and forth. But quite frankly, in any other season, if Ranger Suarez was the guy here, you'd be saying that's great, right? You want Ranger Suarez in this situation. I will say this about Ranger, who was not good basically the entire second half.
No.
But in all of his previous playoff runs for the Phillies, 2022 and 2023, his regular seasons were never good. And then he got to the playoffs and just all of a sudden became this guy who turned into a different pitcher. Hopefully that's just who this guy is, that as the intensity goes up, he goes up with it. Because he has not thrown well literally the second half of the summer, but he never really threw well in any of the other seasons and then came up big in these playoffs. Now, do I have that anticipation? I don't know what to expect from this guy, really. I never anticipated that he was the guy that he was in the playoffs in 2022 or 2023. So why would I be surprised if all of a sudden he says, you know what? These are the moments I live for. These other boring August games when it's, I'm pitching against Colorado. I don't care,
Yeah, maybe he flips the switch. I hope that's the case because we've seen it in the past, right? And he struggled that entire second half, had the injury. That's a concern too. I don't know what you're going to get out of him, but I don't want to see a ton of the bullpen. I want to see Ranger, Christopher Sanchez, and maybe 1 or 2 guys out of the bullpen because the bullpen has not stepped up in the moment like Ranger has in the past, right? You haven't seen that out of guys like Strahm, guys with ERAs under 3, under 2, and they just haven't been able to hold a game where it's at or help you out in that matter and blow a lead. So hopefully Ranger can give you at least 5, 6 innings tonight, and then you can go to Sanchez for a couple innings.
Yep. I think, look, the Wheeler thing too. I quite frankly, you're hoping that you don't need him to be in a situation where he has to close because you want him to be able to pitch on Friday, right? I mean, if he comes in and throws an inning tomorrow night, is that going to change? Can he throw an inning tonight and then come back on Friday? You don't see that happen all that often. I mean, I'm not rolling it out, but we'll see. By the way, a Ranger last year in the month of September, 5 games, he had an ERA of 5.20.
Yep. He was not good to end the season last year, but he could flip the switch. And the moment, he lives up to it. We'll see if it happens in this game. Mike, 3-pack of Nuggets today. Let's see if the Phillies move on. And my bet with you stays alive to get those flats from you.
Yeah, I can't wait for my drums, although I don't want to win that bet. I really don't want to win that bet. There you go, Nick Earnshaw's Nuggets. By the way, in 2022, in the month of September, he had an ERA of 4.55 in 6 games, so not good then either. And then went to the playoffs, and he was pretty darn good. So maybe Ranger will be the first half Ranger that we all saw. You'll have that coming up for us in 9 minutes here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Nick Earnshaw, good to see you, man.
All right, talk to you tomorrow, Mike.
All right, there you go. And it's time now for the Bet365 play of the day. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Well, last night we gave you a Schwarber home run, and that did not work. He did not go yard for the Phillies. But tonight, we're feeling a little bit better. So, in the game, we just talked about Ranger Suarez. We're going to go with Ranger over on the strikeout number. All right, Ranger Suarez over on the strikeout number, whatever app you're using there. That's my Bet365 play of the day, whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. I think Ranger comes out, has a little life, has a little energy, gets a bunch of strikeouts, and I'll go Ranger Suarez tonight. The number is 4 at -110. I'll go over 4 for Ranger. Phillies baseball is up next.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small.
Can't wake up without it.
Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Don't get left in the